6:30, I'm going to open the Plan Commission meeting for May 18th, 2026. First, we're going to stand for a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nikki Finelli.
Present.
Brad Johnson.
Present.
Craig Melton.
Present.
Jim Hurst.
Present.
Josh Fedor.
Present.
Kendrick Davis.
Present.
Nick Plopper.
Present.
All present.
Very good, thanks, Mike. Item number 3, just making note that the Planning and Building Department April monthly report is available online. Moving on to item number 4, approval of Plan Commission minutes from our previous regular meeting. We have a motion to accept those.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have item number 5, continuance or withdrawal requests. We just have the one, which is 2026-14-DP, the Callaway Group Church-refiling. That project, we need a motion to accept the continuance of that request.
So moved.
It's been moved by Nick.
Second.
Nikki is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries. All right, moving on. Continued business. First up is 2025-90-DP, the Astro Heights LLC, the Learning Experience. Staff, do you want to start with that, or?
You want me to make some initial comments?
Yes, sure.
Okay. If I could, just as a reminder for everybody, this matter had a public hearing at the last meeting, the April 20th meeting. At the conclusion, the public hearing was closed. This is a development plan approval petition. So if staff determines that it does meet the ordinance, then the actions of the Plan Commission are ministerial in nature. We understand that, well, first of all, at the April 20th meeting, there were a lot of folks that talked both for and against the petition. There were a number of letters submitted. Since that time, there have been quite a few more letters that have been submitted. It's my understanding that the Plan Commission has reviewed all of those. I also have understood that very recently the Neighborhood Association has hired an attorney, Mr. Burris. The Plan Commission is not going to reopen the public hearing. They have read all the letters, but in deference to Mr. Burris, they will allow him 5 minutes to speak.
All right, staff, do you want to kick off?
Thank you. I'll give a brief presentation as much of the information was covered last month, but I will highlight the changes that have occurred. If my screen could be promoted, please. In the petition before you is a development plan for a 10,880 square foot, 2-story children's daycare facility with related parking areas and outdoor play areas. On the screen is a location map for orientation purposes. The site is bordered on the east by Michigan Road, on the north by Templin Road, to the south some commercial lots, and to the west the residential subdivision of Lost Run Farms. To the northwest of the site is the Chelsea Park subdivision. The site is zoned urban B1 business, and it is also within the Michigan Road overlay. As mentioned, the petitioner proposes to construct a 10,880 square foot, 2-story child daycare facility with paved parking. Vehicular access will include one access point from Templin Road and another from Michigan Road. Perimeter and greenbelt landscaping will be provided. Topics of interest for this: the petitioner received approval of 4 different development standards variances for this project. Revisions to this project since the April 20th meeting include drainage and sanitary sewer issues are being resolved with DPW. Architectural concerns regarding features on the north facade, dormers being shown on the building elevations, and horizontal banding for balance of colors have been addressed. a wooden guardrail. I'm going to go back to the site plan. Oops. A wooden guardrail has been added to the landscaping along Michigan Road, so along this entire run of parking spaces. In response to comments from Plan Commission last month, specific landscaping varieties have been identified. And finally, the median that had been proposed for Templin Road has been removed. That changes what had been a right-in, right-out entrance on Templin Road onto the subject site into a full access site. DPW will monitor this situation for up to 2 years following the certificate of occupancy to determine if a median is needed. The petitioner has worked with DPW on commitments regarding this median. And staff recommends conditional approval of the development plan subject to resolution of the remaining items noted in the town engineer's comment letter. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions for staff?
Roger, I'll just ask you one. There's been changes in traffic pattern. Does the town have any concerns that the traffic study needs updated, or is it sufficient for even this change?
The town does not, from what I'm told from DPW, that the traffic study does not need to be updated because if anything, it has freed up some traffic flow, and plus the conclusions of the traffic study were recommendations. They were not requirements, specifically the median, things of that nature. So DPW is comfortable with the traffic study that was submitted.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, for Roger. So, being fairly new to the commission here, I just want to be clear, and I didn't vote on these development standards variances, so I'm kind of looking at those, just kind of understanding and interpreting that those were approved back in November of 2025, and then now we've got this presented to us for reading tonight. Is it typical that once you get your development standards, we're at 4 or 5 months now, and then we're at this point, does it typically take this long?
It is not uncommon.
Okay, I'm just, like I said, one of these kind of stands out to me that as a little bit of a, something that I don't know that I am comfortable with, but I'm gonna sit here and understand it and listen to the presentation, and thanks for that.
And just for further knowledge, variances do not expire. There are some approvals that are granted maybe by the Plan Commission that do have expiration dates on them. As an example, development plans have to be acted upon within 3 years. Variances do not have that time limitation.
Thank you.
And can you just refresh my memory, in the BZA obviously heard this, what things did they allow or did they change for this property to be able to go here?
The 4 variances that were heard, that were requested and approved, one was a reduction in the required number of foundation plantings along the building's foundation. 2, a reduction in the 2-acre minimum lot size requirement. That is a requirement of the Michigan Road overlay. 3, reduction of the 30-foot required setback along US 421. And 4, reduction of the 30-foot required green belt along US 421.
Okay, and so this project, just for myself and everyone that's here, the size of this project now at 2 acres is at what?
It is
1.29.
1.29 acres.
Okay, and the 30-foot setback was moved to? Is it 23?
23 7-foot
Okay,
setback.
It was
And then-
reduced down to 7 feet yes, 7 feet,
okay, and the green belt
reduced down to 7 feet.
down to 7 feet or reduced by?
Down to 7 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Not an exhibit for the wooden, what I think you mentioned, guardrail. Was that provided?
I think that's a good question for the petitioner,
That's fine.
for sure.
Is noted here is item 26 on this drawing. We go to item,
We can,
or guardrail, and I would have to double check.
We can pull it up, but it is on the detail sheet in the Kimley Horn submittal.
Roger, if you want to skip to that, that would be great. If you
Not sure
can.
that I have that queued up.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll have the petitioner pull that up. All right, because we've had the petitioner present the full project in the past, and really tonight we're looking at how they've addressed the changes that were requested by the Plan Commission, I was going to ask for, to focus just on those changes and not to reintroduce the entire project, keep things rolling here. So Kyle, if you would like to begin your presentation, this going to try to keep it to about 5 minutes if we can.
Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. For the record, my name is Kyle Resiter. It's with Denton's at 10 West Market Street, Suite 2700 in Indianapolis, 46204. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Certainly we'll keep it brief. Thank you to Roger and staff for the introductory comments. Ultimately, my comments will very much echo those that have already been presented, so happy to keep it as indicated brief. We'll run through some slides. Really want to just land on this revisions. This slide summarizing those revisions to the development plan since last month's Plan Commission meeting. As Roger just detailed, a removal of the median from Temple Inn Road, as well as the north entrance, what's often referred to as a pork chop or island at the entrance to the site, thereby creating that full access of ingress and egress to and from the site along Templin Road. As Roger noted, the town's DPW, Department of Public Works, requested a commitment from the petitioner to install a median only if the town determines one is warranted within the first 2 years of occupancy, and that would be on the developer's obligation on their dime. If ultimately the town determines after that 2-year period that the town would like a median installed, the obligation for the developer to pay for that median would cease. But the ask from DPW was that the petitioner would not object to the town installing that. So really, the commitment here is a monetary obligation. Within the first 2 years, it's on the developer. After the 2 years, it would be on the town, and then the monetary obligation would turn into simply just not objection or non-remonstrance. That commitment document was included in your packet and in the staff report this evening, just memorializing that. We can have a discussion on that, whether or not that's a commitment that the Plan Commission would support and would like the petitioner to make. As detailed, I'll continue quickly through numbers 2 through 6. We did add that wooden guardrail to the landscape area along the parking spaces that face Michigan Road. As a reminder for the Plan Commission, there was some concern about child safety, exiting vehicles, those parked along Michigan Road, and creating just an additional buffer, perhaps for children being a bit curious and walking towards Michigan Road, keeping them towards the building. We moved up a horizontal white band on the building to add some architectural balance. We did introduce a canopy feature on the north building facade of the building, recognizing that will be a constructive visual element, particularly for those passersby on Templin Road. It very much mirrors the eastern elevation along Michigan Road. We did include building dormers on all applicable elevations. They were intended but not previously shown, so we made sure to include those. And then we made the requested landscaping improvements. I won't belabor the revised site plan as Roger already reviewed that, but I did just want to call out the architectural elevation. So you'll see here this this white band falling very much near the center of the building. And then on the north elevation, which is here on the bottom side, just a very plain, sort of.
I think those are the previously.
Exactly, these are the
Okay.
previous ones. So I want to show the improvements here. In particular, this north elevation, we've added this additional canopy here, which closely mirrors the one on the eastern side. So this, again, is the north elevation in the bottom left corner. This is the east elevation in the northwest, in the top left corner. There's a question about the wooden guardrail. This detail is included in the packet, an illustrative example of what a wooden guardrail would look like, and then the detail of the construction elements are included there as well. Staff certainly, as always, support. We appreciate their support. Won't belabor any of the comments, but would incorporate those by mention into the record. And then also, we did amend our findings of fact, so I just want to incorporate those by mention into the record here. Summarizing my presentation and allowing us to move forward to questions and any dialogue you might have, we have responded to each of the comments requested within the motion of the Plan Commission of last month, as summarized on this slide. We have staff support, and as Attorney Clutter mentioned, we ask for the Plan Commission to approve this, given the administerial nature of the plan, of the development plan petition this evening. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for the petitioner? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to invite Mr. Burris to come and give a 5-minute presentation. Again, as our attorney has said, that technically what we're reviewing is a development plan approval process. It is supposed to be ministerial, meaning that if it meets the ordinance, we have to approve it. And we're going to give some latitude tonight to allow this presentation to take place.
Thank you. My name is Roger Burris, attorney with offices at 410 West Oak Street in Zionsville. I'm here representing the Chelsea Park Homeowners Association. Also with me is Tracy Montgomery, Carrie Wassam, and many other residents of Chelsea Park. And many of them have written letters, which hopefully you've had a chance to read. I don't think in my 40 years plus of doing these things that I've ever seen this many good letters written by remonstrators for a petition. Could I just ask anybody here from Chelsea Park to raise their hand? And if any of you are in favor of this project as proposed, please keep your hand up.
Could you address the Plan Commission, please?
Okay. Well, suffice it to say, there's a lot of people here that are very concerned, and that's because at the last meeting, the traffic study prepared by the petitioner was submitted. And actually, I'd like to go back to that BZA meeting because Mr. Melton, I think you're right there. So when that was presented for variances, the plan was that they would present those, and if the variances passed, then they would do the traffic study and get into the sorts of things that would be considered many times. At that point, they were put off to development plan, and at the last Plan Commission meeting, the traffic study was not looked into in very detailed fashion. But what we saw was what's up on your screen now, that this project, as proposed, will result in cars making U-turns and having to go into other neighborhoods, namely Chelsea Park, as well as Zion Lane, because of the right-in, right-out requirements of NDOT. You know, that's not the town of Zionsville doing that, that's NDOT, but the town of Zionsville and the Plan Commission is responsible for the safety of projects as far as the Zionsville streets. And I understand that development plan approvals are normally ministerial, but I would submit to you that in this case, the developer did not have to satisfy a higher burden at the BZA as normally they would. And that's because those issues, the traffic and some other things were put off until development plan stage. So here we are. You know, I didn't have a chance to speak last time. You know, I mean, the residents, they got a chance to speak, but I would submit that they were not fully equipped. And since then, we've hired a traffic engineer who's here, prepared to speak. I mean, it's up to you whether you want to listen to him, but if I were concerned about the traffic and the safety of not just the children at the daycare facility, but the children on Pembridge Lane, the children on Zion Lane. Pembridge Lane, Chelsea Park is a young neighborhood. I think I heard that there's about 30 children, you know, young children growing up on Pembridge Lane. And there's going to be potentially another 30 to 50 cars a day going through there just to turn around. I've never heard of something like this in all my experience handling zoning matters in the town of Zionsville. It's patently unfair to people that bought lots on cul-de-sac streets to then have this influx of what's called through traffic. And it's not even going anywhere. They're just turning around in order to get into this daycare. You know, daycares are not bad. Everybody can agree that daycares are great, they're good. But when it's not in the right location, when it's going to cause traffic problems, not only on Michigan Road and Templin Road, you know, I'm not the engineer. We brought the engineer, and I would hope that you would give him a little bit of time to say what he thinks, because it's very important. You know, there's a shot of this lane. If you have a car, you know, a young neighborhood, you've got construction vehicles still, you've got landscapers there, you've got people parking on the street, and then you've got, you know, room for one car to get through. So to introduce additional traffic on a road like this, a local road, and you're almost turning it into an arterial
1 minute.
road. Yeah, I mean, this just does not make sense. We were very surprised. We wanted a lot of people to be able to speak tonight. Frankly, I'm just surprised.
If I can interrupt for just a second.
Sure.
Because I want to allow you to have some time to respond to this as well. So I assume you're aware that the right-in, right-out has changed, and that
Oh, yeah, I can talk about that.
It's all to prevent the traffic pattern that you're discussing. And I feel like you're spending your time on what the issue was at our last month's meeting, not about issues that may still linger with a change to that right-in, right-out off of Templin. So if you could focus on, is there anything that's of concern now that the traffic can do that instead of going down to the neighborhood and turning around?
Yes, so our position would be, and I think our engineer would back this up, that you know, Templin Road has if you're going to the east, there's a left turn lane and there's a through lane, which also doubles as a right turn lane. So by opening up that Templin Road entrance to right and left, the theory is that people going north on Michigan Road are going to be able to then take a left turn and then make a left turn into the project. Well, what about the cars that are backed up on Templin Road to take a right turn or to go straight? You know, you're not going to be able to make a left turn when there's a line of cars backed up. So we don't see that as an answer at all. And this 2-year thing, you're just kicking the problem down the road, which I understand maybe you'd like to avoid that, but that we really don't see that as solving this problem, because there's going to be more traffic as time goes on, and the cars are not going to be able to turn left, which means they're going to be backed up onto Michigan Road. That's our position.
Okay. Thank you, and we'll have some deliberation. If we, as a plan commission, want to ask the engineer to come up, we will do that. Again, just from the high level, our state statutes say that if a project meets the zoning ordinance, meaning permitted uses are permitted, and if they meet all of the criteria in the zoning ordinance, we're obligated to approve that project. Now, we, as a plan commission, have a little bit of wiggle room. For instance, we've asked them to upgrade their architecture. We've asked them to consider a different configuration for that Templin Road connection. What we're faced with as a plan commission is, does this meet the zoning ordinance? And that is our obligation tonight. It's not, do we like it or not? I mean, we can't use that, just arbitrarily say, yes, we like it, or yes, we don't. We have to use the ordinance. And, you know, that's something that the Plan Commission needs to deliberate tonight and decide if that does. Now, even if this project were to go away, we're going to be right back here with any project that comes in on that corner, because they're all going to have an access off of Templin Road. There's almost no scenario where that corner lot's not going to be required to have access off of Michigan and Templin Road. So, you know, if we say no, we're also kind of rendering that site undevelopable, which is a legislative taking possibly. So, you know, we have concerns above and beyond some of the points that you're making. And honestly, we were trying to appease. Matter of fact, I mean, I love the illustration that you presented, because that was really clear to us, at least from what I heard from all the Plan Commission members at our last meeting, that turnaround cycle that would possibly be created by the right in, right out was something we're concerned about. So, you know, we're trying to pick option A, B, or C, whatever that may be, as to which is the best, but we really don't have full latitude just to deny a project based on that one criteria. At least I don't believe that, and I think our attorney would back that up. So, are there questions for Mr. Burris?
Well, I think I just would like a clarification. Did the BZA change the zoning on this parcel?
No, sir.
So all sorts of commercial uses could have gone here, including the proposed project based on the zoning, correct?
Any use that is permitted in the urban B1 district that has not been excluded by the urban Michigan Road overlay. So yes, there are a number of.
So nothing, is it fair to say that anything involving this proposed use, whether it BZA or Plan Commission, that the traffic concerns were created by anything other than the underlying zoning? Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah,
help understand. I
Yeah.
mean, it's zoned a certain way.
Yes.
With that comes some traffic assumptions at that point that any commercial project might bring.
So I've heard our engineer describe this as a destination business. 165 children per day is their maximum. And so everybody who is going to this facility is going, they can't go somewhere else. They're signed up, you know, this is where they get their daycare. And again, this is a good business, but we think it's the wrong location, because, I mean, those kids, and every parent has to go inside, has to park, go inside, and escort their child inside and then leave. I know they're providing more parking than what was required, but we still think it's deficient, and that there will be problems with cars stacking up practically everywhere. And that's what makes it dangerous, and in my view, the Plan Commission never ignores public safety. That's number one. And I really wish you would, there hasn't been that much consideration.
Forgive me, Mr. Burris, I think you've gone beyond what I've asked, but thank you.
Other members of the Plan
Opportunity for rebuttal?
Commission? Just a minute.
Thank you.
Not for Roger, no.
Okay. Kyle, very briefly.
5 minutes?
Even briefer if you can.
Sure.
I just don't want to simulate the full public hearing, because that's not what we're obligated to do tonight. Sure.
The site is the site is zoned to allow the permitted use as just discussed. This proposal has been before the Board of Zoning Appeals at a properly noticed public hearing. This petition comes before you last month at a public hearing, properly noticed. I would add that we had 2 continuances. So this was on the Plan Commission's docket for 3 months. This would be the 4th month. Any insinuation that the public did not have an opportunity to speak or have an opportunity to view or be aware of any of the materials, I want to state for the record that the petitioner has been available and willing to do that, and certainly the Plan Commission and staff has had plenty of opportunity to see the materials, as well as any opposition, supporters, public comment has certainly had ample opportunity. This is a daycare. We certainly put public safety and the safety of children at utmost importance. One of the most critical items you gave back to us last month was, can we look at, 2 things. Can we look at the additional safety railing along the drive aisle? And can we look at removing or creating another mechanism for the median, both of which we have addressed this month? I offer to the Plan Commission how the Plan Commission looks to evaluate the accusations that the median commitment is a kicking the can strategy. The petitioner is willing to make the commitment, willing to not make the commitment at the preference of the Plan Commission. I will just remind the Plan Commission that this sits within a commercial, Michigan Road commercial overlay. It is within a zoning district, and the comprehensive plan calls for uses that support the daily convenience of the neighboring residential uses. I struggle as a parent of a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old to think of anything more important to my day than getting my 4-year-old and my 1-year-old to a convenient use such as a daycare. So I request respectfully the Plan Commission approve the development plan as presented based on the conditions as suggested by staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Having read, I think we had 15 additional letters that were submitted. We've read those. I've read those at least. I can't speak for everyone here, but I noticed that quite a few of the letters kept referring to the right-in, right-out configuration that we asked for them to reconsider and to look into alternatives. That's one of the major points that's in the new letters. And then also a development possibility, neighboring property to the south, expanding to the north, maybe being a better option. We just can't, as a planning commission, we have to take the matters that are at hand in front of us today, not what might be a possibility in the future. So appreciate the information, but again, that's not something that's relevant to whether we make a decision today or not, for or against. All right, deliberation, Plan Commission members.
I'll start because I'm down here on the end. I guess as a partial question / clarification, we are not allowed to, as a Plan Commission, make a decision based on not agreeing with a BZA vote, correct? Correct. Okay, so even if I do not agree with the lot size, I don't agree with the lack of buffering along 421, I'm not allowed to use that as my justification.
Yes, you have to take what is in front of you. And the BZA has granted those 4 variances. They were not appealed. So, and as Roger stated, they run with the land. So there's no time limitation for those or anything like that.
So you say they run with the land. Mm-hmm. So if this petition falls off, that will stay with that parcel?
Correct. So if another project came in, those variances would still apply to that new project.
So is the,
Commissioner Davis and Attorney Clutter, I just want to clarify, I believe the BZA approval, and Jonathan's not with us tonight, but it was subject to general compliance with our site plan. So we did request the 4 continuances based off of a site plan that looks materially similar to the one you see tonight. I think we've made some adjustments, including the ones that we noted tonight to the site plan. But to the extent that another, let's say the daycare is not ultimately built, or it's built and ultimately torn down, and someone in the future comes back to the Plan Commission or the BZA, if they were not going to build the daycare facility based off of that site plan, we'd have to reevaluate that. So under that scenario, we might need to modify and go back to the BZA to seek other commitments. So the BZA, of which 2 of the 5, I believe it was a 5-0 that night, 2 of the 5 members are here this evening on your board, did make their approval of the 4 variances subject to substantial compliance with the TLE site plan.
thank you very much for that clarification. I appreciate it.
And I just want to, Commissioner Davis, if you'll oblige, the 2-acre minimum lot size, as you know, the parcel is, we can't expand the size of the parcel. So while it was a variance, it was a variance given the size of the parcel is the presently existing. It's actually a platted parcel, and it has been in existence for many decades. The BZA conversation, as well as the staff conversation, if we had not sought any of the other 3 variances, that would have been a automatic staff, maybe not automatic, staff can correct me on this, but that would have actually not gone to the BZA for approval. That would have been something that staff could have approved because of the non-conforming nature of that relief being sought. So I don't know what your other comments are about any of the other BZA, but I just wanted to offer some additional comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess I have a follow-up question to this point. It might be to you. So if the BZA had certain requirements for that setback from Michigan Road, and from what I understand is there could be a taking from NDOT or to widen Michigan Road, so that shortens, I guess, the distance from the parking lot to Michigan Road, and we know that is a possibility now. Are they still obligated to have that same setback, or is that now overridden by the site plan as it sits today is in compliance, even though we know it may not be in compliance if there is this taking?
Correct. Yes, that is correct. If NDOT is in a roundabout there, sorry, if NDOT expands their right-of-way there, and then the setbacks are moved, or some other part of the development is non-compliant with the existing site plan, then it would be a non-conforming use, legally non-conforming use, because the site plan was changed or the setbacks were changed based upon a taking by NDOT.
As a reminder, the Plan Commission, the developer is dedicating additional right-of-way to allow for future expansion as needed for 421, including access to the site along 421 as required.
In the rare instances that transportation requires more land than can be tolerated, they sometimes will buy the whole property and demo it, whatever. I mean, it's pretty rare, but that does happen. Okay, some other comments, thoughts, concerns?
So Cal, thanks for addressing, petitioner, thank you for addressing my safety concerns that I raised last month with regard to Michigan Road barrier. Appreciate your efforts in it, including that in your, committing to that in your revised plan, so thank you.
So on this commitment on Templin Road in this 2-year time frame, it's going to, so if this thing is built, 3 months go down the road, we have traffic backed up. What was the determining factor for DPW to say this is the time for this? I mean, is there a traffic count number that they're basing this on, or is this just their kind of gut feel?
Fortunately, I cannot answer for
And I know you can't
DPW.
speak for DPW. I didn't know if they provided that
They
type
did
of
not.
level of.
I don't know what that threshold would be either. I mean, I assume if cars are backing into Michigan Road or there's some other clearly dangerous movement, I mean, I would hope that we can explore with the petitioner, you know, staging the delivery of children to the site or something else besides just putting in a median. But those are the types of things that would have to get resolved.
Kyle, when does the 2-year period start? Is it upon stabilization of the property?
It's from the issuance of the certificate of occupancy.
All right, well, we need to take some action tonight, one way or the other. Does anyone want to offer a motion?
Before we do that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank you for reaching out and, you know, talking to the petitioner, as well as the Plan Commission members. You know, we very much appreciate that input. I know those who I've talked to, I have suggested, you know, and tried to kind of inform BZA votes in their box. The Plan Commission has to vote inside of our box. You get to vote for the town council members that represent you in your area. And I would suggest making sure that, you know, you continue doing that, you know, because they obviously have the ultimate say. So I just want to thank you again for spending your evening out here tonight, so.
I move that docket number 2025-90-DP, a development plan for 10,880 square foot, 2-story daycare facility with related parking areas and outdoor play areas be conditionally approved based on the findings of fact in the staff report and the staff recommendations. Submitted findings of fact, subject to resolution of outstanding review items identified by comment letter identified in Exhibit 6, and the recordation of proposed commitments with DPW's recommended changes.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Mike, do a roll call vote, please.
Nick Plopper.
Aye.
Jim Hurst.
Aye.
Kendrick Davis.
Nay.
Josh Fedor.
Aye.
Craig Melton.
Aye.
Brad Johnson.
Aye.
Nikki Finelli.
Nay.
That's 5 in favor, 2 opposed. Motion passes.
Did you get Craig?
I'm sorry?
Thank you for your time.
Very good. All right, moving on to our next item on business, 2026-01-PPA. With the Plan Commission's.
President, you want to give them a
Yeah,
minute
sure.
to clear the room?
With the blessing of the Plan Commission, I was going to lump these next 3 together.
No objection from me.
Okay. We'll wait for the noise to die down a little bit. All right, I'm going to read into record the 3 items. So it's 2026-01 PPA, Sam Scheidler, Zionsville Place, Lot 2, Primary Plat Amendment. It's 2026-02-DP, Sam Scheidler, Zionsville Self-Storage Phase 3 Development Plan. And then 2026-03-DP, Scott Martin, Meineke Auto Service Center. These are all 3 related to the same lot. We'll do a separate vote for each of the 3 items, but presentation-wise, thought this would be best for time to just have staff present all 3.
Thank you. I will go ahead and try to be brief and describe all three projects, but I'll ask for questions in between so that we don't get confused on which project we're actually voting on. So this first one is the primary plat amendment. You can see the subject site here. The existing Zionsville self-storage is located to the east, and here's Oak Street to the south. This is an existing access drive. The subject site is zoned B3. It was rezoned earlier this year from B1 to B3, and they are with commitments. The commitments were included as part of your staff report. The project is to divide this entire site into 3 lots. I do want to correct an error in the staff report. The entire site is 2.6 acres. The east and west sites are 0.75 acres. The middle site is 1.1 acre. The staff report said it was 2.6, but that was my fat finger. So basically, there's going to be an access drive that will serve all 3 lots coming off of this existing drive here. All of the lots meet the bulk development standards for the B3 zoning district. There are some ongoing drainage refinements that DPW wants to work out. They did say that they were fine with these projects all moving forward because they're confident that the drainage things can be worked out, number one, for the primary plat before the secondary plat is approved, and then the development plans before the building permits would be issued. So staff would support conditional approval of the primary plat amendment to create 3 new lots. If there are no questions on that, I'll move right into the other one. Okay, thanks.
Please do.
So this next project, is it control? Oh, much better. The next project is development plan for Zionsville Self-Storage Phase 3. Again, this is Zionsville Self-Storage. This easternmost lot would be Phase 3 of the same type of self-storage development. There would be a 10,000 square foot self-storage facility with the associated parking, drainage, landscaping, and upgraded grades to the access drive. You can see the basic layout here. Again, the existing self-storage business is here. This new access drive here, and then parking lot and paving for the proposed new storage building. The landscape plan reflects an inventory done for the entire site along the north, western, and a little bit of the eastern property, noting the existing trees, their size and character. That's just important to note because our ordinance allows existing inventory saved trees to count for certain landscape elements. So taking those into account, the landscaping, the buffer yard, the perimeter, building perimeter, and the parking lots all comply with the landscaping. This is the proposed building architecture. I do want to say that projects in the B3 zoning district are required to meet the Zionsville theme. So this has elements of the Zionsville theme. It's all brick. It's got the gables, rooftop. It is intended to meet the existing building so that it's kind of a cohesive building look.
Jody,
And the building,
I'm sorry.
no,
You said all brick, but I think the back is not brick. Is that correct?
I was just getting to that point.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank
Yep,
you.
nope, that's fine.
Apologize.
I'm glad you read the staff report, though. That's awesome. I will note that the eastern elevation is metal siding that's rendered to look like clapboard. That is a permitted building material. We do have some conditions for the proposed, and then there's the rendering. The proposed lighting, we didn't get cut sheets, but we got a photometric, which is compliant. We do want to have a final sign review. They showed the proposed signage, but we just didn't have the precise dimensions. So we want that delegated to staff for final review and approval. And then, of course, the resolution of the DPW comments as usual. And if there are no questions on this one, I'll slide right into Meineke.
Go ahead.
And again, here's the site. Meineke is proposed for the westernmost parcel. The Meineke business is a 5,000 square foot auto service center with, again, the associated parking, drainage, and landscaping. I should mention that both the self-storage and the auto service center are permitted uses in the B3 zoning district, if I didn't do that. Again, here is the landscape plan. This is compliant. Again, you can just see the wavy line showing the existing area of trees. The entire inventory is available to you if you want it, but there are a number of existing large specimens in that area. And parking and drainage. This is the proposed architecture, and again, it is supposed to meet the Zionsville theme. There is a trash receptacle, which is brick on the outsides except for this gate, which is opaque. And a rendering of this new building. Again, there are a couple of minor conditions that staff would request. They are cut sheets for the lights. Again, the photometric complies. Final sign review delegated to staff, and then resolution of the DPW comments. And if there are no questions for me, I will be happy to turn it over to the petitioner.
Just one question, is the self-storage Phase 3, is there just 2 parking spaces for that on the south side? I was surprised to not see more parking spaces for that.
There are parking spaces. Let me grab the staff report, because I know there were just a few parking spaces that were required, because they only have to have.
It appears that on the southern part of that building, there was 2 spaces
Yep.
way deep in there.
Yeah, they're only required to have, it's only 200 square feet, 1 space per 200 square feet of gross floor area, which results in 2 parking spaces being required.
Okay.
So,
I assume people will be parking in the lot out in front. I mean, if they're going in and out of those
sure, if
doors.
you're going in and out of the doors to, get to your storage unit, and yes.
I have two questions. Is there any connectivity between like the home office and this building with regards to access, like a sidewalk or anything? I don't see that on the development plan.
Yeah, there is a sidewalk along the south part of the property.
Thank you, okay. Thank you. And
It
then
goes all the way to.
I'm going to jump to the other project, go ahead, yes.
Does it extend down the stub street then towards Oak
Yes.
as well? Okay. Sorry.
Nope, that's great, thank you. And then, I was at a meeting today, and we talked about an oil separator. Is that a topic that's been discussed on this?
Yes.
Okay, am I gonna hear that at some point?
Yeah, that's all part of the DPW review of things that they would be required to install and
Do we have
where
an
that happens.
Do we have an ordinance that requires that?
Stormwater ordinance would require the clean water stuff. So the best management practices to clean water before it gets into the drainage system and then out into the system at large.
And when that conversation happens, we'll see that, or that just comes through?
That's part of all of the construction plans that are submitted with the plans that we see here. You get to see the site plan and the landscaping. The entire submittal is, you put all of those construction plans online, so
Okay.
the whole package is there.
Great, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that's something that's,
Oh, yep, yes.
going to be addressed.
All right, we're ready for the petitioner. All right, state your name and representation. We'll give you 10 minutes.
Yeah, good evening, Plan Commission. My name is Jeff Jacob. I'm an attorney with Hackman Hewlett with offices here in Zionsville at 220 South Elm Street. I'm here on behalf of the petitioners, and thank you for letting us talk about all of these collectively, all of these pending petitions. And thank you to staff for their thorough review, as always. For the petition, for the Meineke petition, I'm here on behalf of Representative Scott Martin, and for the Zionsville Self-Storage Phase 3 and the plat, Sam Scheidler of Cedar Crest Cottage. Brad Sheff of Y Engineering is also here to add some technical backup to my inadequacies in that area. Relative to the plat amendment, staff has indicated we've got a 2.6 acre site, Zone B3. This has a set of extensive commitments that you all heard and then went to the Plan Commission, dealing with a lot of operational things similar to the tree line, maintaining those, and quite a bit of work with the property owners adjoining, usually mainly to the northwest. As mentioned, we're approximately 10,000 square feet of the self-storage and 5,000 feet of the Meineke Automotive Center. We have, in terms of vehicle access, all of that will be off of Oak Street, and the plat establishes, as you can see here, an access easement and then also cross-access between the three sites. The plat complies with the B3 standards and the subdivision control ordinance in conjunction with the continued staff review and specifically some of the DPW comments. As we're looking at the self-storage Phase 3 project, from a development plan standpoint, as mentioned, that's the east lot, 47 units. And I had the same question on the parking. And really that is a nature of the use, and there will not be really any office space there. The Phase 2 project adjacent to that, over and above from the ordinance, what it requires, that's where the operational side will really take, and it's really the nature of the business is that there's nothing there other than pulling into a storage facility and pulling items in and out. As mentioned, that site will be accessed by the shared drive. It wasn't a second ago. If you wouldn't mind jumping to the aerial site plan. So we will have connectivity between all three lots. Landscaping, as mentioned, meets the front side and foundation, and as discussed, we worked with the adjoiners to make sure not only did we clear out some of the unwanted underbrush, but we are maintaining the mature tree line. The lighting meets the standards, town standards. From an architectural standpoint, as staff mentioned, we believe that we hit the Zionsville theme with the brick facade, the cast stone, clapboard style metal. Looking at the Meineke site, the west lot, again, it's approximately 5,000 square feet. That will be an office and 8 service bays. It is a permitted use under the B2 zoning. We did increase to B3 in order to pick up, and doing so, we picked up a number of operational commitments on that, if you'll recall. A lot of sound attenuation in the building. The doors will be closed as much as possible. And we specifically committed to the use of only some specific tool requirements. From an architectural standpoint, the brick on all 4 sides with cast stone wainscoting, aluminum and glass bay doors with a flat roof, parapet, And again, our access will be through the shared drive with cross-access between the 3 lots. A couple of other related to the oil separator issue, no, I was not going to mention that, but I believe that's all part of the staff review process, and to the extent it's in the ordinance, I believe it's been implemented and been part of our approval process. So I believe staff has reviewed that. I can't tell you whether that exists in the ordinance or not, but staff is seemingly indicating that it does. As mentioned, and I don't want to, staff has done a great job laying this out. Both projects lie within the B3 zoning classification, the permitted uses. We meet the development standards cited by staff. We've got our traffic and access issues, our buffering, especially with the residential component to the north, and stormwater will be finalized subject to DPW's satisfaction. I'm happy to go through, as a reminder, some of those operational commitments that we made as part of the rezoning. However, we accept staff's recommended conditional approvals and respectfully request your conditional approval of the primary plat amendment subject to resolution of staff's comments and conditional approval of both the development plan approvals. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. Questions for the petitioner? While we're thinking about that, if you're here to speak from the public in regards to this project, whether it's the primary plat or either of the development plan actions that are before us tonight, you do need to sign in. And I forgot to mention that earlier, so I'll give you a minute to do that. If you want to speak, you do have to sign in. I think Jody has the sign-in sheet.
No one has signed up
Okay.
now, till right now, but if somebody
All
wants
right.
to.
Questions for the petitioner? Okay. Hearing none. Deliberation in regards to, let's just do these one at a time. Is there any issues that somebody has or any concerns with the primary plat amendment? Okay. Not seeing any. How about the self-storage DP plan? Any issues there? Any concerns? Any thoughts? Okay, not hearing any there as well. And then lastly, the Meineke development plan. Same thing. All right, so we're gonna, I guess, open the public hearing at, what is it, 7:33, and based on what Jody said, we'll then close the public hearing. There's no one that wanted to speak in regards to either of these 3 items, so we have met that obligation.
Forgive me, Mr. Johnson, do you want to check online to see if there's anybody?
Yes, we can certainly do that. Is Thomas back there?
Yes, there is no one online.
Yeah, please keep reminding me of that.
Well, it's just,
It's not something that it's not something I think of.
moving on from it from time to
Yeah,
time, too.
I very, very much appreciate that. The only thing that kind of caught my eye was with the Meineke development plan, some of the items that were submitted show the building on the north boundary of the property, and then I think kind of the final drawings show it in more of the center of the property. I just wanted the records possibly to be cleaned up if they're needed to be. I'm not sure if, it's not so much that I have an objection to either of the locations, it's just that we have kind of both showing up there. I'm not sure if that matters to staff. I was just gonna ask them if there's any issues there, that it kind of shows it in one spot and then shows it in another spot.
I believe the intention, and Mr. Scheidler may have to correct me on this, but I believe the intention was to shift that away from the residential use as much as possible. But what we were trying to do was work with staff on that location with the intention of making sure we hit our parking and flow requirements, of course, fire safety as well, but try to shift that as much as possible.
Yeah, I have no issues with moving it down. I just didn't know for the records, kind of official records that we are approving, if we should remove some of those illustrations or not. It's just a bookkeeping question.
long as the front yard setback is maintained, it's not an issue.
I had two other just questions maybe, and that is the tree row on the north boundary. I know the intent is to keep that. To what efforts is the developer petitioner going to take to kind of preserve and protect those trees?
Yeah, so I'm confident that we would do some sort of fencing to make sure, but we've also gone in and worked with one of the adjoiners to identify some invasive species in those areas that will be removed. I believe we consulted with an arborist, and we will make sure that that is staked off and protected from a construction standpoint. Not only was that a significant point through our rezoning process, but it's also part of our landscaping, and frankly, we like the buffering as well. We were surprised at some of the degree of invasive species in that area and sort of dead material, but we'll try to get that cleaned up and make sure that we maintain it as much as possible.
If one of those trees were to die, what's the typical repercussions of that? So you're intending on it counting towards your buffering, something dies in there, what happens typically? Construction stress, whatever it may be.
We would, because the whole area was inventoried, we would take a look and make sure that the landscaping would still comply with the ordinance without the one tree or the two trees or whatever. When it gets to the point where there's not enough preserved trees, which hopefully never happens, but then we would come back and say, hey, you're not meeting your landscape, and so you would need to replace trees in that protected area to match the caliper inches of the tree lost.
Okay.
And there's a formula then on what
Yes,
that
okay.
replacement would look like, having been a decade or so ago involved in a very unfortunate tree removal project that Mr. Andreoli would remember as well. So, but yes, I do have some experience with that.
Okay. My hope is always to protect the drip line of trees. I just know that that ultimately is the best way to protect and preserve trees if you're really trying to save them. So, all right, I think we are ready for motions. We have 3 items. We'll do them individually. Somebody wants to take a stab at it.
I move that docket 2026-01-PPA, approval of a primary plat amendment to subdivide Lot 2 of Zionsville Place into 3 new lots, be conditionally approved based on the staff recommendation, the findings in the staff report, submitted findings of fact, and a resolution of comment submitted by DPW as reflected in Exhibit 7 of the report.
It's been moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, moving on to the second item, the self-storage Phase 3 DP.
I move that docket number 2026-02-DP development plan for a plus or minus 10,000 square foot storage facility, including associated parking, drainage, and landscaping improvements in the B3 zoning district be conditionally approved based on, number 1, the findings of fact in the staff report and the staff recommendations. Number 2, submitted findings of fact. Number 3, resolution of the following review items. A, submittal of staff approval for fixture cut sheets compliant with section 194.113. B, submittal of a sign permit application for staff review and approval of the proposed wall sign. C, resolution of issues identified in the commitment letter provided by DPW, Exhibit 8. And letter D, substantial compliance with the submitted development plan.
Thank you. It's been moved. Do we have a second? It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And we have a third item, the Meineke Auto Service Center DP.
I'll jump in. I move that docket number 2026-03 DP Development Plan for a plus or minus 5,000 square foot automobile service center, including associated parking, drainage, and landscaping improvements in the B3 zoning district, be conditionally approved based on the findings in the staff report and the staff recommendations, the submitted findings of fact, resolution of the following outstanding review items. A, submittal and staff approval of fixture cut sheets compliant with section 194.113. B, submittal of a sign permit application for staff review and approval of the proposed wall sign. C, resolution of issues identified in the comment letter provided by DPW Exhibit 8 and substantial compliance with the submitted development plan.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we're moving on to docket number 2026-04-PP. Thank you. Staff, do you need a moment to, and again, if anyone's here to speak in regards to our next item, there is a sign-in sheet to be a speaker. Please sign in so we can recognize you. All right.
Thank you. There are two companion petitions related to the next item. The development is known as Walnut Run Estates. They were requesting approval of both a primary plat and a development plan. The primary plat is for a major residential subdivision dividing 14.53 acres into 14 residential lots. They are also requesting, as a part of that primary plat, a waiver of the perimeter pathway installation requirement. For the development plan, it is for the same major residential subdivision, and associated with the development plan, they are requesting a waiver of the architectural design requirements of the Michigan Road overlay. I apologize, as I look here at the screen, I failed to insert the location map, so I apologize for that. But it is located on the west side of Michigan Road, just north of Chelsea Park. Chelsea Park is the subdivision that borders the southern edge of the site. The property is zoned rural, single and two-family R3 district, and it is within the rural Michigan Road overlay. The petitioner proposes 14 single-family lots and 2 common areas. You see the lots outlined here, and the 2 common areas are both used for detention. One common area here, another common area here. The lots range in size from the smallest being 0.28 acres to the largest being 2.54 acres. From the petitioner's narrative, quote unquote, "This will be a custom home development with extensive landscaping in and along State Road or US 421. The homes will be serviced by public water and public sewer." Some unique aspects of the proposed layout: 4 of the proposed lots will be accessed via easements across other lots within the subdivision or common areas. These 2 lots, this driveway coming and serving these 2 lots actually crosses this parcel. This existing home, which will remain on Lot 14, is accessed off of this cul-de-sac across this parcel. And this lot will be accessed by a drive coming off of this northern cul-de-sac, and it crosses this common area. 3 of the proposed lots, lots 11, 12, and 13, are double frontage lots, as they are located between the 2 cul-de-sacs which serve the other lots of the subdivision. The 3 that are double frontage lots are these 3, again, right in the middle. The 14 lots subdivision is served by a single point of access from US 421. This point of access does align with the access into Ansley Court subdivision, which is on the opposite side of US 421. The subdivision, there are a couple of topics of interest need to bring to your attention. The subdivision control ordinance requires pedestrian pathways for all public perimeter streets. The petitioner is willing to develop the required path along US 421 from the subdivision's entry drive southward. Would Here's the entry drive. There is an existing pathway along Michigan Road down next to Chelsea Park. Petitioner is proposing to continue that pathway up in this direction around a retention pond up to the entry drive. However, the petitioner is seeking a waiver of the pathway installation requirement extending northward from the subdivision's entry drive due to topographical issues with the site's elevation lowering down to Boone Creek below the roadway surface of US 421. So from this point, as we move in this direction up toward the northern edge of the site, the grade does begin to fall off and decline, but it is significantly lower than the roadway surface of 421. Staff does not support this waiver request, but would support the installation of the required pathway as far north as the subdivision's entry drive as possible at this time, and deferring the remaining portion to a future time. The petitioner has offered payment to fund future pathway installation when the final design of that segment has been determined. The Department of Public Works has indicated they are willing to discuss this solution, but DPW has not had any substantive talks with the petitioner on this matter to identify the northern location of termination of the pathway and then the financial amount which would be required. The Michigan Road overlay, as we kind of change from the primary plat consideration to the development plan, the rural Michigan Road overlay includes architectural design requirements which are geared toward commercial and industrial development. Historically, the town has not imposed these architectural design standards on a single-family residential subdivision or individual residences within the Michigan Road overlays, either urban or rural. The zoning ordinance does provide that the Plan Commission may grant a waiver of this architectural design requirement, and to ensure that the Michigan Road overlay architectural design requirements will not be applicable to the residents within this subdivision, the petitioner is requesting a waiver of these architectural design standards. Staff does support this waiver request of the Michigan Road architectural design requirements. There are items yet to be resolved regarding landscaping and engineering drainage issues, but resolution of these items should not have a substantial impact on the subdivision's layout, which cannot be resolved during the secondary plating process. Staff's recommendation is the conditional approval of the primary plat and development plan, subject to resolution of the remaining items noted within the respective comment letters. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for staff?
The neighborhood that is to the north of this proposal, is that Clarkston?
Immediately to the north, bordering the subject site, is the petitioner's private residence. So there is a buffer of at least one development, and again, this falls down to Boone Creek. So north of that would be the neighborhood that you're referring to.
Okay, so it's the proposal, the petition, the petitioner's residence that is not part of this, and then the Clarkston neighborhood.
Correct. Pardon me?
There's another residence in between my home
Yes.
and.
There's a couple more, and then you go up to Clarkston.
Clarkson is the next intersection.
All right.
Exhibit 2 of the staff report is the location map that on your tablets you could probably.
Exhibit 2, okay.
Exhibit 2.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff?
Maybe a little more clarity on the request for the pathway situation, because it sounded like, I got confused when you went into the potential solution or what have you, and I just need clarity on that, because they want to do the bottom, the southern portion, they'll bring it around the pond, take it out to the entrance, but they don't want to take it from the entrance to the petitioner's property. Is that correct?
Correct. Their request is a waiver of this requirement to going from the subdivision's entry northward up to the northern property line of this subdivision. What DPW is wanting is that this pathway, instead of being waived, which would put the entire responsibility on the town to develop that at some point in the future, DPW would prefer that this pathway be installed as far northward as reasonably possible now, and then defer the remainder of that pathway to a point future in time. But the petitioner has offered to fund, in the request for the waiver, the petitioner had offered to provide monies toward the installation of this pathway. DPW would ask, let's go ahead and install as much as we can now, and then provide a contribution toward the remaining length of pathway that would need to be developed at a future time. Another complicating factor of this is not only the topography of the area, but we know that NDOT is under study to widen this section of Michigan Road. So to install an entire pathway at this time, whenever Michigan Road is widened, it would take out that pathway that had just been installed. So therefore, DPW is willing to, let's install as much as we can now that would not be adversely impacted by Michigan Road, and whatever is left, we can defer that, but we're going to need some financial contribution toward that.
So as much as we can now is just too vague for me at this time, but was somebody saying something?
And with the, if we're worried about topography for a sidewalk, is it in there, I know we're in the study right now, is that something where NDOT's probably gonna move that to the other side of the road for their financial benefit as well? I mean, it's yeah, it's like we're making the assumption of an assumption, right?
Theoretically, there should be a trail on both sides of Michigan Road being a major corridor.
If NDOT removes it, they have to replace it. Is that, that may not be, I mean, does anybody know the answer to that? I mean.
So just while we're talking about it, I mean, I think an alternative for me would to be have an easement or something in between the second and third house from the Michigan Road area, and have a pathway kind of jut off towards the north where we have a direction for that. Now, I think we ran into this with Holiday Farm, where they wanted to take the pathway back into the neighborhood, and there was a lot of pushback on that. And I don't remember, I think there was a cemetery or a bridge, and there were some other things. But with what I'm trying to, I guess, compromise on is this idea that we don't have to have something out at the edge of Michigan Road because we've got NDOT and this project. But as somebody that sits on the Pathways Committee, it's absolutely pertinent that we get these pathways in at this phase. But again, I think a compromise might be if we pull it off a little bit and have it go in between homes. I'm not sure what the appetite of that compromise is, or with this commission, but I guess I just wanted to get that out. Sure. I want the pathway, and I want it all the way to the petitioner's property.
Well,
just
unless
sit-
there's
sit
further
tight.
questions for staff, I was going to go ahead and open it up for the petitioner to give their 10-minute presentation. So we've had the project introduced, and maybe we've gotten into the weeds a little bit, but would like you to
Thank you, Mr.
give us a
President. For the
great
record,
overview.
Mike Andreoli, 1393 West Oak Street, and I represent the petitioner, Mr. Lowen, who's very anxious to have his say when I suggest to him it's appropriate. And so at this particular point in time, staff did an excellent job, and we've been working with them for a number of months on this project. It is only 14 lots. The development itself is well under the density that's allowed. The R3 density is one of the more liberal densities that we have. It allows doubles and a number of other things. And Obviously, with Mr. Lowen living just north of this and the residents up there, he'd like to make this a pride for development. It's all going to be custom home development. Really, we feel like it's been underdensified in terms of the number of lots for 14 plus acres, 14 lots, and two of the lots in the back are fairly large, and I'll get to the commitments about those lots in a second. But as to the waiver aspect of it, there's north of that drive is a real challenge in terms of ravines and substantial wooded acreage there. We're trying to preserve as much of that as possible for the lots that live there, especially along Michigan Road where the noise is substantial along there. So from a value of the lot standpoint and the size of the development, we have limited funds to be able to go ahead and do a lot of road work. The other thing that always concerns me about 421 is to put something in and then have the state come in and tear it out and do something different. And the developer has made the cost with regard to that. It makes sense going south because we have a little connecting path already from Templin on up. And so going to the south appears to be appropriate to go ahead and connect there. But we would substantially suggest that a waiver might be appropriate in this particular situation as it goes to the north, just because of the topography up there, the number of trees that we have up there, and the preservation that we'd like to keep. It just doesn't appear that it's going to make a whole lot of sense to go north from a cost standpoint or otherwise. If we had a 400 lot subdivision, it might make more sense because you could spread those dollars out, but with only 14 lots, it's really a challenge. I know that's not necessarily a concern of the Plan Commission, but it is a challenge from the standpoint of the developer itself in terms of how do you fund these types of things. If you simply will not grant a waiver going north, then the suggestion that staff had of maybe moving to the north as far as we can, and then give a waiver after that might make some sense. The concern is, from a legitimate cost standpoint, if somebody looks at that and they suggest that to complete it, it's going to be $150,000, it's just not going to be workable for a 14-lot subdivision. That's just the practical part of trying to get this thing approved. So we know in your good offices, you'll try to make as good a judgment and fair a judgment you can as to how to treat that. But it just has some real practical difficulties and implications for us. The other thing that's important that you've just received tonight, and I've given staff, don't have copies for all the members of the commission, but I've given staff and the president a list of commitments. We have been working and discussing with Chelsea Park, who's immediately to our south, trying to see if we can come up with some agreements to be good neighbors with them, given the fact that they're already existing. And also our southern boundary, and for some feet south of that, there is a sewer line that is a town sanitary sewer line. It's in Chelsea Park. It's not in a sanitary sewer easement. The actual manhole is going to the south, but going up to our property line, it's in a landscape easement. So it was necessary for us to get an off-site sanitary sewer easement agreement with Chelsea Park. And as part of that, that would be obviously dedicated as part of the town sanitary sewer system, but the town would need an off-site sanitary sewer agreement that would be assignable so that they had the ability to go ahead and bring that into their system. We've reached an agreement with regard to all of that. And I want to go through these, if I might, if I could take a few minutes of your time and go through these list of commitments. The Chelsea Park people are here tonight and confirm that this is an agreement that we've reached. And as I suggested to them, that to the extent that you approve a primary plat and development plan approval tonight, it ought to be part of your approval process. So the list of commitments will need to be put in recordable form. And these particular list of commitments will need to be part of your approval process if we're moving forward tonight. We've done a substantial landscape design that will be on our property that will border the entire area of Chelsea Park. So the entire common boundary of Chelsea Park and you may not even have this yet, Roger, but there it is, right there. The entire boundary of Chelsea Park, and then up and then on over again, is a landscape design that we've put detail to, that we've committed to build and install as part of working with the Chelsea Park folks. We have residential to residential land uses. There's not a requirement for this, but in the spirit of the fact that we needed sanitary sewer easement and in the spirit of trying to be good neighbors, we reached an agreement with them on the landscaping. This is a substantial landscape plan, and the cost will be into the six figures for this in order to try to provide a common boundary and landscape boundary between the two properties. That also will have some benefit to our lot owners because it will help secure the backs of their properties from the Chelsea Park folks as well. So it's a mutually beneficial landscape plan, but it would be paid for and installed by the developer. We're not going to allow any more than 14 homes in this particular subdivision. 14 homes is it. That will be in the actual covenants themselves as well, but the commitments indicate we can only have 14 homes. You see the homes in the back, those are larger homes and potentially could be split. We've agreed that we're not going to split those two big lots in the back. 14 homes is all we're going to build in that particular piece of property. We're going to encourage and have developed language to encourage low-level lighting by our residents, especially the backs of the houses as they peer to Chelsea Park, to try to make sure that we don't have any light emanating off of those particular homes. We will agree that there will be at the sanitary sewer connection point on Chelsea Park, no construction, traffic, staging, or placing of vehicles. There's a road that runs along. We have our common boundary. There's landscaping easement area. Then there's a road, then houses south of that. That road is a private street. It's not a public street. It's maintained by Chelsea Park. And we are going to access for the construction, maintenance, and everything else through our particular subdivision itself. And all the construction will be done through there, and no construction will be done in the private road and access to the private road at Chelsea Park. There's a sanitary sewer easement that we've negotiated and provided, and that the HOA will execute that. And in payment of that, we're paying them $7,500 in order to be able to go ahead and access that sewer line in Chelsea Park. The sewer line's a town line, but we've got to get from our property line to it across their property. So we're paying them $7,500 in order to go ahead and access that. It's a fairly short run, but nevertheless, that's what was negotiated, and we're agreeing to pay that. That'll be paid at the time that we do and apply for secondary plat, so that we have that sanitary sewer easement in hand. They will have their money in hand, similar to a closing, and we'll pay them and they'll execute the sanitary sewer agreement. All of these are conditioned upon the execution of sanitary sewer agreement and the approval of Walnut Run by this particular plan commission, both as to development plan, primary plat, and final plat approval. There are a few just smaller items that, as Roger mentioned, that I think are items that are really part of the construction details that I don't think will present any particular problems. One of the reasons that we continued it for a couple of months is there were some other issues that actually were germane to the actual approval of the development in terms of how the houses might be located and those types of things. And we were able to go ahead and resolve all of those issues without seeking variances or anything of that nature. So at this particular point in time, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And I know that one or more members of Chelsea Park will come up and, at least I'm hoping that they will, indicate that this list of commitments is approved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Andrioli. Questions for the petitioner?
What's the build-out timeline on this project?
Oh, it's going to be,
I mean,
I think he's hoping as quick as he can, but
I think everyone hopes
I
so.
think given given the topography in there and what's going to be necessary in order to put the streets in, I think even with 14 lots, and you already got 2 of them there, so if you're looking at 12, probably a couple of years.
The concern I have is with the easement lots. It's a timing thing. We build all these other houses around, and then these are the lots that don't sell because of the easement. 4 years down the road, someone's already got their homes built around it, and then these lots sell. And then the folks have already built what's on their plats, when they sign off on their lots. It can come back to us at some point in time, or it can come back and haunt us. Is there any way we could try to market those lots first, maybe, or is that even feasible?
the intent's not to go to the broader market with everything, so there'll probably be a spec home or a model home built on one of those first few lots.
Okay, so particularly these 2 down in the southeast corner. So that's most likely going to be a spec home lots.
That was the plan. I'm going to say it's
Okay.
moving target.
One of the other things that I might mention, and perhaps for consideration of the Plan Commission, is that in terms of, depending on how you react to the waiver versus the deferral, I think it would be helpful with 14 lots that if there was going to be a deferral, that we defer any of the construction north for maybe until 7 of the houses close or something like that, in order to generate some cash to be able to do it. Because most of the cash is going to go in, and most of the financing is going to go in to install the roads and the infrastructure in that regard. And then we've got the path to the south to construct immediately. So anything you can do to defer that cost, even for the area that we've agreed ought to be constructed and not totally deferred, would be a temporary deferral, would be extremely helpful to this particular developer with only 14 lots in the subdivision. But I just want to raise that issue as something else that perhaps the Plan Commission might consider.
Other questions?
I've heard several references to commitments. Are the only places I find that is what you handed Mr. Dale
Yes.
earlier?
Yes, those are the.
Forgive me,
me?
I've not effectively seen them then. I mean,
Pardon me?
I've not seen the commitments then because
No, you wouldn't. They just got approved by the HOA tonight.
Okay,
There's
all
a-
right.
There's another copy.
Well, no, I understand that the timing of things don't always work out, but if the commitments are important to us, I've not had a chance to read any of them.
Same.
I'm inclined to, and I'm looking for input from the Plan Commission, opening the public hearing if there's any members from the public that want to speak for or against this development, continue the public hearing and continue the matter to our next meeting. I feel like there's several things that are not quite in place. I mean, with the meeting house church that we asked them to, there were just too many unresolved issues that hadn't yet been solidified. And I feel like this one maybe fits into that bucket where it's close, but there's still some things that need to get ironed out. You guys haven't seen the commitments. Some of the commitments to me are not commitments. They're just information. I mean, there's just a variety of little things that maybe is, and that way we can continue the public hearing at our next meeting and get some of these things ironed out. But if we do that, I would like to give them guidance on if there's things that you would want to see changed or modifications in any way.
Yeah, I think we should follow, allow those who came tonight, a chance to speak, allow us to talk a little bit, and then I'm kind of on the same page as you, but I do want to, at least if people have showed up tonight, be able to say their piece tonight in case they can't next month.
And certainly, we can make note that we're reserving the opportunity to continue the public hearing at our next meeting as well.
Do we need to suspend rules to continue the public hearing for next month?
Yeah,
No,
you just
okay.
have to announce that it'll take place at the next meeting and the date and the time.
Okay.
Very briefly.
These commitments don't in any way change the fact that this is a platted subdivision, and in no way changes the staff report or the fact these commitments are over and above what your ordinance requires. And so these are voluntary commitments that we are making. So we would respectfully suggest that we did not or should not delay this another month, because we've now come in with some voluntary commitments that are our commitments to Chelsea Park. They really have nothing to do with the approval process itself.
I would respectfully disagree with some of this. Like, for instance, how much you're paying Chelsea Park for your access to their sewer. I mean, that's not really relevant to our matter. We don't care if it costs you
I wouldn't think it's relevant to
$0
you at
or
all.
$10,000 or anything else, or we don't even care if you have an agreement. We just need to see that you have an access easement, and you need to, you have to provide sewer and water.
But we've got an alternative. We've got an alternative sewer that we've mapped out. And we can, and that's part of our concern, is that we've worked with staff for a number of months here, and we're getting to building season. And I know we just worked this out last night, but part of our goal is to try to get this thing moving if we could. And I'm not sure what the voluntary commitments to a neighbor does to the approval process one way or the other. If it's an add-on and it doesn't subtract from your ordinance, or it doesn't subtract in any way from the staff recommendation.
Well, let me just give you some feedback first before we decide if we're going to have a public hearing and continue it or continue the matter. I'll just give you an example of some of my concerns. One is like driveway access. Is several of these driveway locations, I don't know if you're committing to these locations or you're just showing that it can be accomplished getting driveways in there, but there's some that are shared driveways, and you should have easement language as part of this primary plat suggesting that you're going to have, these two lots are going to have shared access, and what does that easement language look like? We're trying to approve a primary plat, and we need to know that those agreements are going to be in place, those easements are going to be in place. There's
Normally those would be
conflicts,
part
right?
of the
Hang on a
covenants.
second. There's conflict with some of these driveway locations in your landscaping, for instance. There's, it's not traditional for us to approve developments that have the buffer landscaping being on private property, but that's the way this is designed. It's not a common area buffer between one side and the other. The side path, I think, has to get worked out. The side path, if you do swing it in, I'm not opposed to that, but you need to have a 10-foot path continuing from that internal point back out to Michigan Road, where it's going to then continue north. And right now, we're showing a 5-foot sidewalk there. So there's quite a few pieces here that are just not thought through completely. And I just don't think you're ready for an approval tonight. Based on that. No matter how many commitments you put down, I don't think we're there. That's my opinion. Now, I'm going to let the Plan Commission, think this through, and I'll point out one other one. Lot 4, if Michigan Road gets, if you dedicate that land, Lot 4 is a pretty undesirable lot. I think you could modify your lot lines a little bit and give that property a nice premium lot. Just by shifting lot lines a little bit. So I think there's some things like that we're concerned about, typically concerned about. I don't see lighting standards. Maybe they're in here. What your commitment is for lighting standards. We're asking for dark skies type of lighting, down lighting. I just don't think all the details are here yet. That's my opinion. Planning Commission members, what's your thoughts? Do we open up the
Not comfortable signing off on, or giving a favorable recommendation on anything I haven't seen the commitments on. Even if they're voluntary or anything, I'm just not comfortable signing off on anything without seeing the commitments. So I'm not opposed necessarily to this project, but I think unfortunately it continues.
I certainly would welcome public comment and to keep it open to the next meeting.
Okay. All right, with that, I'm going to, it is 8:15. I'm going to open the public hearing. Jody is handing me the folks that have signed up. All right. So we have Eric Jensen. It's the first person. If you could come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Eric Jensen. I'm the owner of Jensen Design. We're a Marion County builder, mostly Meridian, Kessler, Williams Creek. I know Josh from quite a while ago, probably 10, 15 years ago, when he first started building. We collaborated on some projects, helped advise one another. We were members of the same church, so had a pretty good relationship. I brought this project to him. I signed the purchase agreement on this land with Charles and Linda Elliott on 11/12/24. Josh and I agreed on an assignment of the land on 3/1/25. And in that assignment, which I have here, unfortunately, my attorney wasn't able to be here today. His daughter is graduating in Tennessee this weekend, which is why I would like a continuance as well. But in the assignment, which I'll present at the continuance if it happens, I was to receive lot 1 and 2. That was to be quitclaimed to me after the closing with the Elliots. My commitment to the Elliots was that we would never build more than 4 or 5 houses on the lot, and that we would honor the land that they were giving to us because they didn't want the nearby developments that they were seeing to overtake the land that they had stewarded for so many years. So, and now Josh is not wanting to honor our agreement. So that, I know, is not of a concern to the land use and the, giving fair assignments for the land use, but we have a claim, and we've recorded the assignment in your recorder's office, and that issue is unresolved. And it's of my interest to make sure that whatever Josh does, and I don't hate the project, but it is of my interest to make my commitment to the Elliots stand, and that whatever he does honors their wishes. We are going to communicate with them and show them the project. They have since moved on to retirement and into a retirement home. I only became aware of the fact that Josh had not actually honored the agreement and quitclaimed the land to me April 5th when my real estate agent called and said, "Hey, did you see this petition that Josh is making?" And I was like, "No, that's my land." And he was like, "No, I just checked the recorder," and he'd never made the quitclaim. So, like I said, I know that is not of your concern and your duty here, but it does make me want to also ask for this continuance, as my hope is to come to a resolution with Josh, because I think he's a good guy and a talented builder, before this goes through, because this isn't what I would do with my land. And so there's a lot of unresolved issues behind this petition. And that's all I came to ask for, was a continuance today, so that me and my legal representation could make a proper remonstration in the interest of the previous owners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Having no one else that has signed up to speak, I would like to get a motion to continue the public hearing to our...
Mr. President, since we just did the commitments, and before we move forward, I would like, if you could waive that requirement, and we could hear from the Chelsea Park people as to whether this list that I provided to you is a list that was okay for them.
At this point, there's no one that has signed up, and that is our rules and procedures say that anyone that wants to speak needs to sign in, and they would be able to speak at our next meeting.
This time I will withdraw that list of commitments.
Thank you.
In terms of your approval tonight.
Okay. We need a motion to continue the public hearing.
Was there anybody online, Mr. Johnson?
Thank you again.
So I'm going to be the online guy.
Thomas, anyone in? Okay, thank you. All right.
I move that we continue we pause the public hearing, but don't close it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So again, the public hearing will remain open until the next meeting, which is June 15th, again at 6:30.
Mr. Clutter, is that actually correct? We've not actually continued the meeting, or excuse me,
The
the
public
petition,
hearing.
but the public hearing, but.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So the public hearing is remaining open until June 15th.
All right. Does anyone else want to provide some guidance to the petitioner in regards to the design before we take any action to continue the?
I mean, I am going to be very steadfast on the rules and the precedents we've set. If you're going to develop, you're going to put a pathway in. You purchase this land, you went into agreement, you went under contract, you live right there, you have built in this town, you know the requirements, and, you know, if you want to develop this land, that's part of developing it, and if you're not even going to go to market with these homes because they're going to be so high-end, then obviously that needs to be factored into the cost of the lots. I'm not interested in deferring and it being any sort of, you know, the developer's going to take his money and run, and we're now stuck with, I don't care how much money they put in, if you're willing to put money aside, that's great, but this is the unfortunate cost of development. So I know personally I'm going to be pretty steadfast on that. I think you can make it look great. I think it'd be great for the neighborhood. You can be very unique and stand out, but yeah, that's kind of.
I'll ditto Mr. Davis's comments, except for doesn't matter to me if the developer was aware or had built here before. The standards are the standards, and I'm not inclined to waive them.
Okay. Any other?
You know, just as somebody, you know, I'm in alignment with a lot of what they're saying, but I'm looking at this, you know, the survey, and I don't know what costs more or less, but, you know, if you own the property to the north, sir, I was thinking maybe that triangle, if you could consume that triangle, a piece of that triangle to your northern lot, and then that can make our pathway shorter, I'd be willing to see if we could figure that way out so that it doesn't cost, I mean, it's gonna cost you one way or the other, it sounds like. Yeah. But I'm just throwing that out there as an alternative, if perhaps we can dive that top property line straight across to Michigan Road, cut out that triangle, and I think that would save you a little bit, you know, and then down the road, and without a commitment to putting a path in front of your property until there's some other project, so.
Changes the upfront cost, but.
Yeah, of course, but again, it's just another alternative to trying to get this thing to go, you know, and then I get what I want, which is a pathway along the front of Michigan Road, or what sounds like three of us want. Yeah.
I'll let others speak, sorry.
I
So,
agree with everybody on what they've said thus far. I don't want to see it, I may be open to a deferral if we knew that NDOT was going to tear it out. Or they weren't, and if they did, when they were tearing out, they weren't planning on replacing it, then yeah, I don't see anyone wasting money to have something torn out again in 6 months to a year or 2 years, so. But I think there's some creativity that can be done with that area there as far as a pathway. But I definitely would love to see a pathway through there.
And I do appreciate what you brought up earlier as far as the way these lots are kind of laid out. You know, if there is a widening there, you know, for sure, I mean, that's something to take into consideration. And I do want to say, you know, I not to be, you know, all negative, I do appreciate, you know, the desire to buffer, you know, the neighborhood there to the south, you know, that commitment. Obviously, it's going to be good for your, you know, the folks you're trying to sell these lots to not look at the back of these homes, but, or front, sorry. So I do appreciate that.
as soon as a public path goes onto private property, there have been legal issues. So let's say the neighborhood association some point 20 years from now doesn't like the people wandering through the neighborhood. It's their land. They can put rules on who can come across that, who can't. So getting an easement instrument that is unbreakable, that continues to allow the public flow of, through there, has to be a part of this application for me to be happy with it. I'm okay with it going internal, that's all fine. I just don't, I think that legal instrument has to be there to assure that there's no obstacles. And then also that continuation of the 10-foot path around the pond or whatever that, it's actually not a pond, I think it's dry detention is what's being proposed there in the front. If you didn't catch that, I think that's fine as well, just pointing that out.
And I guess for staff, with the remonstrator that came up and spoke, I mean, is this even eligible due to legal issues to be brought before us since it is being contested in that manner?
I will go back and confirm the deed that has been provided, showing evidence of ownership, but I will obviously delve into that a little bit deeper, just to confirm.
Okay, so, I mean, would you, from what you've heard tonight, would it be beneficial to continue this just based strictly on the legal aspect that we heard?
Yes, because what I heard tonight was news to me.
Okay.
All right, I mean, generally speaking, I like the idea of a subdivision. I like the idea of custom homes. I like the idea of its location across from another entrance and drive off of Michigan Road. There's a lot of positives. You've heard the negatives, but generally speaking, I think we're on the right track. I just think there's pieces of this that have to get ironed out before we take final action on it. This is the one and only chance the Plan Commission has, primary plat, to get these things right. The secondary plat step is ministerial. If they did what they say they are going to do in the primary plat, we have no say to add any extras at that time. So this is the time to weigh in. All right, with that, I'm wondering if we can get a motion.
I'll make one more comment. I don't like any petitions that come before us that require us to think about what NDOT or DPW may do in the future. It could be 2040 before we have a new road or a roundabout. And so for that reason, I would just encourage us all to focus on what's before us presently and not factor in some contingency from another agency that may not take action for decades.
Thank you for that reframe.
Yep, I agree.
Right.
All right.
I move that docket 2026-04-PP be continued to our June 15th meeting.
And there are two docket numbers.
Oh, and docket number 2026-05-DP.
All right, we have a motion to continue the two items for JB Partners LLC to be continued to our June meeting. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We'll see you back here in a month. All right. We have one item of new business, item number 2026-21-Z. It's a rezoning for the St., gosh, I know I've heard how this is pronounced, but anyone want to help me out? Alphonsus, okay. Catholic Church. Didn't want to butcher it.
Locally, St. Al's.
Yeah.
St. Al's, yeah.
There we go. All right, staff, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, thank you.
Again,
As
if there's
mentioned-
anyone here that wants to speak on this matter, please sign in before we get to the public hearing portion. Thank you.
As mentioned, the petition before you is a request to rezone 4.66 acres from the rural single and two-family residential R4 district to the urban special use 2, which is SU2, which is specifically for churches, district for the expansion of the St. Al's Catholic Church campus. For your reference, I have a location map up on the screen. The 4.66 acre site is outlined in white. To the north and east is the Courtyards of Zionsville subdivision. To the southeast is the Zionsville Medical Center. Directly south and abutting the site is the existing St. Alphonsus Catholic Church campus. To the southwest, this area is also owned by St. Al's. And then to the northwest, we have the Deer Ridge subdivision. Next is the zoning map, which again identifies the subject site is currently being zoned R4, which is consistent with the Courtyards of Zionsville subdivision. And they're looking to rezone this from R4 to the SU2 classification. While a development plan has not been submitted as a part of this rezoning, the petitioner has provided a conceptual layout for what may happen on the area to be utilized. It just identifies complementary uses to the current church operations, including a parking area and future buildings. The subject site was originally platted as a part of the neighboring Courtyards of Zionsville residential development. On the screen in front of you is a copy of the recorded plat. The subject site is identified as Lot 1, and the church's deed to this lot was recorded immediately following the recording of the secondary plat. That is evidenced by the recorder's instrument numbers for the plat and the deed, those two instrument numbers being sequential. This demonstrates that the site was intended to be owned and utilized by the church. As further evidence that lot number 1 was intended to be utilized by the church, this recorded secondary plat includes portions of the neighboring residential units from, the plat includes a minimum 10-foot wide landscape easement along the north, east, and south sides of Lot 1. So again, the lot is outlined in red, and on the inside of that line, on the lot itself, is a platted landscape easement. Another 10-foot wide landscape easement is also platted on the courtyard side of the eastern and northern property lines, resulting in a minimum of 20-foot wide landscape area on these two sides of Lot 1. So again, even though there's a 10-foot easement on the inside of the lot, along this eastern and northern side of the lot, there's another 10-foot landscape easement on the courtyard side. The two landscape easements resulting in a 20-foot wide landscape area. In addition to these combined landscape easement areas, the plat also establishes a 25-foot building setback line for any improvements on Lot 1. Finally, a thin strip of ground is platted and owned by the courtyards along the north side of Lot 1 between its lot line and the road and Amber Way, preventing access from Amber Way onto the subject site. So this lot is truly, while platted as part of the plat for the Courtyards of Zionsville, there are quite a few buffers built into the platting to somewhat separate this lot from the courtyards. In considering rezoning proposals under the 600 series of the Indiana Code, the Plan Commission and eventually the Town Council shall pay reasonable regards to the following 5 items. First is the comprehensive plan. And the Eagle Township future land use map identifies the site for medium-density residential land uses. Here's the location of the site. Religious uses are generally considered complementary to residential uses. While not exact, again, they're generally considered complementary to residential development. Second item of consideration are the current conditions and character of current structures and uses in the area. The area surrounding the subject site consists of a mix of land uses. The areas to the north, east, and west of the site are developed with single-family residential uses, and due south of the subject site is the existing church campus, which would be consistent with the proposed rezoning. The third item of consideration is the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. The subject site is an infill lot located between the existing church campus and the residential use to the north, and that the intended use for this property was anticipated to be church-related. Fourth item of consideration is the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. The proposed rezoning of the rural single and two-family residential, or R4 district, to the urban special use 2 district, which again is specifically for churches, would allow continued development consistent with the existing character of the surrounding area. And the final item of consideration is responsible development and growth. The proposed rezoning would allow the site to be developed in a manner consistent with what has been anticipated, being a church use. The existing infrastructure is supporting the existing campus and is available for the anticipated uses. Staff supports a favorable recommendation to rezone the 4.66 acres from the rural single and two-family residential R4 district to the urban special use 2 district for the expansion of the St. Alphonsus Catholic Church campus. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
The property's almost, all 4 sides have drainage, utility easement. Are those actually used for utilities at this time?
At this time, not that I am aware of.
I'm wondering if they are truly not used, and they are truly not going to be used, if we ask the petitioner to seek, if they want, relief from those easements that would prevent them from being able to use that ground.
That is a question that has been initially discussed with the petitioner and their representatives. And
I want them to be able to use the whole lot.
As they
not
do
necessary.
as well.
Okay.
They are, I should clarify, they are interested in how to possibly remove that obligation simply along the southern property line. Not the east or north, but only the southern property line for the property that shares, that is immediately adjacent to the existing campus.
I think the west is a given, that has to be there, but if the others are not going to be used, I would be okay with removal of those. I know it has to be a plat amendment or a vacation petition.
Yes.
That I would entertain that. I know that's not the matter before us today, but just wanted to get that out there. All right, petitioner, if you want to, you have up to 10 minutes.
My name's Craig Flandermeyer. I'm a landscape architect with Schmidt Associates, 415 Massachusetts Avenue, Indianapolis. I'm here tonight with several members of the parish, Father Travis Stevens, Sonia DeRocher, Kate Swanson, and then Andy Golgis. He's with the diocese as well. And I'm sure there's others out there. It's been a lengthy meeting, so I'll try to keep this brief for you. St. Alphonsus, thank you, Roger, for the very thorough analysis of what we're asking for. St. Alphonsus has been at this location in Zionsville since 1962. The current church structure was dedicated in 2004. The church is currently in a master planning process to plan for the future, for future growth that's coming to this area, as you're very well aware of. Parking has been identified as a need. This northern parcel is used for overflow parking. They use overflow parking to the west of 950 as well. The use of this lot for parking would make that more contiguous with the campus. There is a overall desire to build a cluster of buildings to consolidate their buildings on campus. That's another reason for this rezone request. As some of you are aware, the Marathon Pipeline bisects their site and makes it a challenging site to build. So right now, the current thinking is that we would build to the west of the church, and that might bleed a little bit more to the north. Again, that starts to give you some idea of where they're looking at doing this, but that's still all in the funding master planning stage. As was suggested, this lot was established in a land swap agreement with the developer of the courtyards of Zionsville. That was completed in 2015. Conditions were put into place to protect both that development, but also several things in that agreement recognized that this was going to be a church occupied and developed site. Some of those things being the platted setbacks of the 25-foot building setback, the landscape easements, the strip that protects that internal, their public drive to the north, Arbor Way. There's an agreement in there that the church would not seek relief from the landscape requirements of the town. And then also, probably the most telling of the whole agreement, the whole site was master planned for a pretty intensive development on this 4.6 acres of almost 80% coverage. And that drainage was accounted for in the pond that is the courtyard of Zionsville. And that's all laid out in the drainage master plan that is on file with the town. So we believe those things show sort of the history behind it. As a group, the church has met with the Homeowners Association. We did that on the April 16th. There were some concerns there, but we feel we can address all those concerns in a development plan. Just for your information, they asked about water quality sent to their pond. We feel, again, the engineering standards of the development plan should cover that. Glare of lights from a potential parking lot. While I haven't given you an exact location of that parking yet, there will be a full photometrics plan done with that. We will look at directionally shielded lights and keep those at a level that is conducive to that neighborhood. There were a couple questions about whether the barn on site would be raised as part of the project. That could or couldn't happen. We know that it's not in good shape, but depending on where the parking lot or what the lead project we actually bring into you for a development plan, that may or may not come down immediately. And then this is unrelated to this, but they have some concerns about the completion of the trail along Sheets or 950. There's a gap in the trail system there. Again, this project is not committing to do that. I just wanted to let you know what the neighbors told us and make you aware of that. And then creating a barrier more between the pond and whatever we develop that will help discourage that any pedestrian access at that point. So again, there's landscape buffers that are called for in the SU2 zoning or the underlying business zoning that we will follow. And then finally, on May 11th, we received a letter from Mike Tudor and his representative, Mr. Andrioli, if I said it right. We've been working, Mr. Tudor is our closest neighbor to the northeast, the very last condo owner that abuts to this property. We met with them immediately and have been working through a potential agreement, which was handed to you. This basically commits to installing a 5-foot earth berm with 6-foot evergreen, a double row of 6-foot evergreens at 12 foot on center for a distance of 130 feet. So basically starting at Mr. Tudor's front door and going 130 feet to the south. So we're not totally walling off his property. He'll still have views from his front door out to Arbor Way. But it extends that berm, again, not the entire distance of that side, but past his property into the location of the pond. So those were the additional things I wanted to add. And happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Were there some questions for the petitioner? Okay. All right, we are going to open the public hearing. It is 8:44, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here? Okay. And no one online? I'm catching on.
One job.
I know. I took your job. All right, and, yes. Thank you. At this time, 8:45, I will close the public hearing. Deliberation, consideration.
I guess since I'm on the pathway deal, it's already installed on that parcel. There's nothing that has to connect these two when they develop anything, correct? There's nothing that's already written somewhere. Nothing's been deferred as far as if the church has bought all, I'm sure back in 1960, they weren't deferring pathways when they bought all of this, but I just want to make sure that there's nothing required that when they develop this land, that the new pathway that is there has to connect further south. Is that correct?
You're saying that nothing requires it?
Well, there's nothing written that was deferred at any point in time, that when this pathway was put in, there was nothing written that saying that it has to connect all the way south if this land is developed or at all?
Not aware of anything like that. I believe the petitioners even said that they are willing to install the pathway.
Is there not a pathway there now?
There's on this site, there's a pathway, but there's
Okay.
not on the site south, the church's
Gotcha.
main site south. There's kind of a little nub that comes up 950.
Stubbs
But
at this
Stubbs at the
location.
further
Gotcha.
south part. Yeah.
Yeah, with the town developing as much as it has, it would be great to have all the connections made if we can, but I don't know that that matters really before us tonight.
Going to put I remember approving the subdivision to the north here. This is always the intent of this project. I know that's what they were saying, but I do remember when we went through this process, this was a land swap for the parcel where the pond is now for this one here. I would encourage them to remove the barn. It's an old barn that hasn't been used it wasn't very safe 15 years ago, or 10 years ago. But I would encourage them to remove the barn as well.
A question for the petitioner is, parking lot I understand, but are the buildings likely, or is there any chance that they're going to be like maintenance facilities, outdoor storage, anything like that? Just, again, just want to, usually we have a pretty good idea of what's going to go there, and I'm not opposed to approving a project without knowing the exact development plan, but I just wanted to at least ask that question.
The master plan is still ongoing. I think I can safely say that storage facilities in the immediate adjacency to the church are not anticipated at this time, that it's more a parish hall, parish offices, those types of uses that are being considered as attached to the church. That's not to say that a maintenance building isn't something that people would want, but that's not the highest priority at this point.
Yeah, for me, it's more of just like a bus. I mean, obviously, you're not in the bus business, but like a school might have a bus depot it's school property, but it's something quite different than a school. So I just wanted to ask that question. Second comment is that I appreciate the commitment that you made to the property owner adjacent to you there on the northeast. Personally, I think you gave more than you needed to. I mean, it's very generous, and if that is reduced through negotiations, that would be okay with me as well. I just don't love long, continuous walls of evergreens. It just isn't very neighborly. So anyways.
On that as well, the subject site we're talking about is actually Lot 1 of this subdivision. whoever owns that lot, respectfully, there was a lot right beside you. You knew something was going to go in there. This is not a surprise.
And your parking lot, assuming that's what it ends up becoming, it's going to be landscaped as well. And again, I just think that it's overkill to put in a wall of evergreens there. That's just my 2 cents. But, all right, we have a rezoning request in front of us. Any other questions for the petitioner? Any other deliberation? I'll entertain a motion.
Do we want to include this commitment in a motion? I mean, whoever makes the motion can include it, I guess.
I mean, to me, it's a commitment to the neighbor, not to us. I mean, I personally don't care if it's in there or not.
I'd prefer it not be in there personally, just because we didn't allow the commitment last time, because we hadn't read it and we didn't have enough time to read it. So I don't want to now include this commitment.
I don't want to bind you to it, honestly. That's my thoughts. So certainly, if they want to remonstrate and ask for some landscaping at the time of development plan approval, we can entertain that, but I don't think it's necessary at the time of rezoning. That's my 2 cents. Anyone want to make a motion?
Is your copy machine broke? Because we only got a few of those commitments up here. I saw a little bit of it.
I got one this time, Nick.
Okay.
You didn't complain last time.
I move that docket number 2026-21-Z to rezone 4.66 plus or minus acres from the rural single and two-family residential R4 district to the urban special use 2, SU-2 district for expansion of the St. Alphonsus Catholic Church campus. Receive a favorable recommendation based upon the findings of the staff report as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, it's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. You got your favorable recommendation to the town council. Good luck to you on your next step. All right, we have a couple of just minor items, but important items nonetheless. Staff, do you want to talk about the comprehensive plan for us? I don't know a whole lot about that.
Just very briefly, just want to make you aware that this morning the town council did make a favorable recommendation for adoption of the amendments they have applied to the comprehensive plan. Just as historically you had forwarded a favorable recommendation to them, forwarded the document. They went through a series of meetings with studies and did choose to make some amendments to that plan that you had forwarded to them. So therefore, for that amended document to be adopted, it has to return back to you for either concurrence with their changes or not. So we're just kind of giving you a heads up that this will be on next month's agenda. We have received the revised comprehensive plan from the town council, and with that was a single document that lists the different changes that they have made. So I will be forwarding that out to you very soon, but before the normal, here's what's anticipated for next month. I'm going to get it out to you hopefully yet this week, just so you can start looking at what the changes were that have been made. And again, it will be receiving a public hearing next month from you for either acceptance of the changes that the town council has made or not. If you choose to accept their changes, it will be deemed adopted. And if you would choose not to accept the changes the town council has made, it will then be returned back to them for final action. They will either look at it and say, nope, Plan Commission, we like what we said, we're going to stay with what we did. Or they could say, Plan Commission, yeah, you're right, we shouldn't have done A, B, or C. But regardless, you're going to be asked to act upon it next month.
We will open that up to the public comment. Or is that not open to public comment, or is it even required to have a public
So it-
comment?
It's a public
It
hearing.
will be a public
Okay,
hearing.
Okay,
Yes.
I just want to
For
make
sure.
sure.
So, please
So-
correct me, did I misstate anything?
No, you're correct. I just, I would hope that we can get that to this commission ASAP.
Yes.
And if you can provide the red lines, that'd be even better, just let them know exactly what we changed so that we can make this decision and get this kicked back to the town council if necessary, otherwise
Yep.
move it forward.
Since you know kind of more of the documents than what the rest of them do, I was going to provide to them that list that HWC had generated that itemized each change that the town council looked at and what the items were, as well as the clean version, the most recent clean version of the comprehensive plan, because that list identifies all the changes that the town council has made.
I think that's fair. I feel like we went through some of those really fast on that, and not without intent. However, there was a lot of things that were kind of, some of them were minuscule and just needed reaffirmation. So absolutely, I think you can use that document. I think some of those were not just actual changes on the map, but more just understanding how the
Clarifications.
clarifications of how we want to cast out this comprehensive plan to the developers and the public. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. I think that's okay. I'd kind of rather have your position of what you see change between the two documents, but HWC did a good job with that document as well. It was just a lot. It was a lot of changes. So,
I've watched town council meetings, you guys spent a lot of time going through these. You just said there's a lot of changes. Roger, how heavy is June look for us right now?
Fortunately, not huge.
Because I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of discussion on what you guys are sending back, or town council is sending back to us. So I just want to make sure we're not rushing it either, so.
For the month of June, we had 4 new petitions filed and scheduled to be heard. We have the continuance of the church on Oak Street from tonight. We also have the continuance of the major subdivision from tonight. And then those 4 new cases, plus the comprehensive plan. So a little lighter than tonight, but not a lot lighter.
You, if you can crack open or get out your crystal ball, I mean, do you have an estimate of how much time we should assign to that, or?
To the comprehensive plan?
Yeah, like, is it going to be an hour of public comments, or is it going to be 15 minutes? Or are we here all night? Just trying to get a sense of what you might deduce from.
I think 45 minutes.
I should start with a crystal ball question.
I was going to say, can you tell me who's going to win the race on
Yeah.
Sunday too?
Yeah, so
I just don't know how much has changed, and
Throw
if
it
there's
out there.
anything controversial that's going to flood the room. I'm just curious how.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
It just depends. But no, I don't think anything's controversial. I mean, everything can be controversial. Everybody can be offended. I don't believe that's the case in this. The town council spent a great amount of time, multiple meetings. What I was going to suggest, obviously, get it out to us as quick as possible so that you guys can pick through it. And really, it's what you guys decide. It's not necessarily what the public decides at this moment. We've had 2 years of public moment. And I want to hear what the public says. That's fine. It is a public hearing, but my point is this is for you guys, and that's why I want you guys to get it ASAP, instead of, 4 days before, or whatever our requirement is. I want it to be on that. So, but ultimately, again, it's really, I think we've made some great changes. And again, a lot of them are minor a lot of them are minor. However, there are a couple areas of the map that were determined that they wanted to change, and a lot of those were, in particular, the community, what's that? Community community center.
Like
right.
activity center?
Activity center, excuse me, yes, not community center. Oh, my gosh.
Teamwork.
Activity centers.
Teamwork.
Those were kind of reduced, and I think the intent is to preserve Zionsville's as much as possible as we continue, but also give a path forward for these projects to be heard. So I think it's a great job. I think, Counselor Norris did an amazing job helping orchestrate. A lot of the comments came from Counselor Sampson, and she did a great job reading through that. But HWC also did an amazing job, as well as our council president, Jason Plunkett. So, and all the other counselors. Get it to us as quick as possible. Let these guys read it and gal as quickly as possible.
I will do my best to get it out tomorrow.
That'd be amazing.
The process question, I heard that we can accept it, and I heard we can send it back. I didn't hear continue. Is there a deadline that we have to have this back to them on? I know there's wishful thinking, but is there a deadline? Because, we sent this to them half a year ago.
Yeah. And a lot's changed.
There may be a limitation on time by Indiana code, by statute.
And so before you send that to us, if you would discover that, and I'm pretty sure
it's 60 days, but we'll double check.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, I know we're going to talk about it later, but as a town council, as we were going through a lot since you guys had the comp plan. Were you guys kind of paying attention? I know you guys voted on some stuff as well, but have you guys kind of paid attention to the demonstration, the comments, especially along that 421 kind of corridor? Was that?
So just real quick, everything you hear, we hear. I mean, it really is like we work together. We just have two different boards here. I mean, we have we have a comprehensive plan that we've been following for every petition that comes forward to us. That plan, literally, after we're done, becomes this new plan. So we've been focused on the primary plan, the current plan that's law right now, as we've evolved. Absolutely, we've had plenty of petitioners tell us, well, we're meeting this plan and this plan. And as we've done that, as we've gone through that process, we still focus on the current plan, which.
Well, no, I'm talking about the comprehensive plan that we're going to review.
Yes.
As you were going through, obviously, the processes that we've been going through with this current comp plan, have you taken the remonstration, and there was, we've had a lot of people show up, and in regards to this new comp plan, have you guys adjusted anything? Did you take these into consideration with, the projects that were voted against but still could fit kind of in those areas?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We've heard the same remonstration that you did on these projects. And
so you guys are pretty confident from what we've seen and voted on kind of in this past 6 months that this new comp plan kind of fits the mold and direction that we voted in?
It's not too far off of what you guys have sent us. Though there is a lot of line items, some of them are minuscule. Some of them are a little more heavy, like removing the activity centers. Some of them, and that's what I want to leave you with that.
Okay.
Get them in front of you, look at them. This is your time to make those changes or request to change it. And if we don't like it, though there's a 60, if you're correct on the 60 days, Mr. Bob Clutter, then let's follow that process. But ultimately, that's why I want you guys to get it sooner. I don't care if we approve it on the 15th or not, obviously. I want to get it right. And I want you guys to have your other bite at the apple, and that's what this is. This is what we see tonight is a clear example of, is this right for the town of Zionsville? And two things can be right at the same time, and I think you guys are doing a great job as well. And you guys, you said 2 years ago you sent this to the council?
It wasn't 2 years ago, but it feels like it.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of a little confused on that, but that's all right.
I think I said 6 months.
If we get too deep on June 15th, we can always also, have a special meeting. I hate having a second meeting, but if we're in that 60-day window, we get on June 15th, we all start digging into this thing, and we may want to have a separate meeting just for this in July, so we hit that 60-day time frame. But I'm with Craig. They've done a tremendous amount at the town council level. If you guys haven't watched the town council meetings, I would encourage you to kind of preempt you to what they're going to send back to us. But yeah, I'm with Craig. I want to get this right, and if we have a 60-day window, we're going to have some long discussions, so.
Yeah, unless there's a compelling reason to change or modify, maybe there is something that was overlooked that the public brings up. I mean, I'm okay with making a recommendation for a minor change, but for the most part, I think that town council's who gets final say on this anyway, so we want to honor that and move it forward unless there's some hiccup that is brought to our attention that we should maybe address. But they're adopted as a resolution typically. They're not adopted as an ordinance. They're meant to be a guideline, so they're not. I know a lot of people want to think of them like a zoning ordinance where it's written in stone, but they're not meant to be that. So if perfect is the enemy of just getting it done, we just need to get it done. So, all right.
Rules of procedure. We have some revised rules for you. Here you go. Pass those down, please.
Does everyone get a copy?
Yeah, everyone gets a copy.
Not Nick.
Is there enough? Nope. Passing those down.
Oh my gosh.
Jody, could you point out some of the revisions for the plan commission?
So let me preface all of this.
Yeah.
I assume this is for the committees. Is that fair to say?
And I think there's
There
some
are
other-
two items,
Yeah.
public hearing process and committee structure.
Our meeting, I guess it was a month ago, we quickly voted on modifications to the rules and procedures. I had assumed that everyone had read it and was generally okay with it. I was wrong in doing that. So, I committed to bringing this matter back up to the full plan commission. And I do want everyone to be very comfortable with the committee concept. And if there's anything in here, this is what we adopted, I believe, that night. Is that correct? But I'm certainly willing to make modifications to this. I'm just pretty eager to get moving on some committees to try to lighten our load here at the full plan commission
No,
meetings.
I think everybody is in agreement. The committee structure is a great idea, and let's shunt some of the heavy lifting from the commissioners to those committees. The only thing with not reviewing in detail the proposal before you is that there were a couple of questions in this set of rules. Let me put my glasses on. Page 18 especially, there's, in the committee structure, the suggestions that we put in were time limits for committee deliberations. Should there be a time limit for the committee? Should we have no more than 2 committee meetings? Should we give it, a specific number of days? And then the suggestion was there are 5 members on each committee, and then there were some suggestions of who to put on those committees. You guys might not agree with that, and you might want more people or fewer people or different mix of titles on the committee. So we just wanted to bring that back to you, just to say, let's tweak this and get it firmly established so we can actually start having these committees meet. I will say then on the public hearing, I know we've been talking about people who represent groups get 5 minutes and individuals get 3 minutes, but that was removed from this current rules and procedures. It's everybody gets 3 minutes. You're not representing a group of people, you're representing yourself, so everybody gets 3 minutes. So that I just wanted to highlight that again, because I know we talked about it last month, but and that's all. I'm happy to answer questions or take your suggestions offline if you want and come back next month or at a special meeting just to talk about rules to get this finalized.
A committee shall consist of at least one of the following members. 1 town council member, So if we talk to town council about this, are they going to send us a member, or is Mr. Melton expected to show up every time?
Well, I nominated Mr. Melton, but I don't know, what, yeah. No.
You know, we're not always going to have a town council member on the planning commission. You know, certainly for that policy is that at this point, but 20 years from now, that might not be the case. So I guess I looked at the town council as we're always going to reach out and try to get a town council member to these committees, but not to obligate. So I don't want the committee to not happen if we can't get a town council member to be there. Does that sound right? Sound okay?
Yeah,
It's a double-edged sword. If you want the, if you want the insights of the council, you want the counselor on the committee, but I do agree with your theory, which is, it's not really fair. It makes more sense to not obligate a council member, period. And again, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, I'd happily do it. But I wondered, I guess when I see one town council member, I guess in the past, council has been on this committee as a commissioner, but then it went away for a period of time, and now it's back. I guess I don't understand that. I don't understand why it went away. Just, it's not by requirement to have a counselor on this. It's just really more to try and get things, I think, better understood as they move through the process. So I agree with your theory. I like what you're saying. So potentially remove that. Is what
It doesn't actually have to be standing membership either. This is just food for thought. If you want to establish rules, further down it says, as the committees are established, we have four standing committees. And then they, at their first meeting, will establish their rules. Now, if you decide, the president usually establishes these rules and assigns the membership. So if, Mr. Johnson thinks that a town council member should be on the ordinance amendment committee, then we can work to say, hey, we want you on the ordinance amendment committee. But they're not required to be on every single committee. So
My gut tells me that I would want these two committees, the land use committee and the amendments committee, to always reach out to two town council members and always have two plan commission members there. That would be my baseline. And then from there, just making sure we don't have quorum, even though we'll advertise the meetings. I just don't think it's good optics to have quorum at any of the committee meetings. Some thoughts?
I am all on board for the committees. I think it's important. We'll be out of here at 9:30, so that's 3 hours. These committee meetings are gonna probably be a couple hours. How many boards or committees are you already on? Craig, as far as being a council member, you're on the Pathways Committee. We're really, that $36 is really starting to get stretched out and,
Getting 36?
I probably didn't taxes.
I don't get 36. This is pro bono for me.
Oh, man, sorry.
So, the ordinance amendment certainly is above and beyond the time that we would be spending here. The others, I'm hoping it reduces our load. That's my goal. I don't know if it's going to be a one-for-one, but I'd hope we don't get into the weeds so much with our petitions before us on our full plan commission meeting nights. Hopefully we're past that and we're going to be much closer to being ready to just approve the project.
Yeah, and I'm no doubt that, like I said, they are definitely needed. I appreciate the dumpster conversations because it's a good point. I appreciate the conversations about the trees because it's a great point, right? And so I think that these committees will satisfy, like you said, some of that time. So it's a matter of how do you get the right people in those committees? I don't know anything about the smell of trees, right? And so how do you find the right people to be able to put in to these to make it, not one person running everything or, you know, a group of people. And then I know I've heard before, when the committee stuff got brought up, oh, so that's where the back deal, you know, the backdoor deal comes, or that's, you know, where the decisions are made, you know, offline, and, you know, those kind of comments have been made. But again, I appreciate what a committee is gonna do, and I think we do need to take time to break these things down further.
Yeah, I mean, I think the project tonight, the Walnut, whatever it's called, you know, I just don't even think that should have been on our agenda tonight. I mean, hopefully a
I'll agree
committee
with
would
that.
have just said,
Yeah.
you're not ready.
Right, I'll agree with that, yeah.
So I guess I just want to try something for, you know, a year and see how that works. If it is reducing our load, great. If it's not, maybe we abandon it. I don't know. But I think it's worth a shot. And we definitely need some ordinance amendments. We're always complaining about, you know, the interpretation of driveway impervious surface in the village. Like,
Is
somebody's got to resolve that.
Is any of that need to be
Please.
resolved from a staff level? You know, are there things we're trying to take on as a planning commission that,
In that case, I would think that the persons on the committee are going to be advisors as to what's the best, you know, what two ordinance amendments should we be working on first, and giving that to staff and them coming back and presenting that, and we're going to review some drafts. And the reviewing drafts can be offline or, you know, in a committee meeting. But the idea is that I don't think we're writing those ordinances. We're just advising on what we would want them to say. And then staff will draft and will say, yes, it's ready to go to the full plan commission.
There's already a lot of work ready for that committee, for the ordinance committee.
Yeah.
so you're, as staff, you're seeing a pretty big need for all of these committees, or there's specific ones, or?
Primarily the ordinance.
There's really just two committees. The architecture committee, if we do that, it's going to be folks besides us. I don't want any plan commission member to be on it personally, and I don't think a town council member is on that either. I think we're just getting advice from our 7, you know, architects that live in town. You know, 5, you know, we pick 3, 4, 5 of them, and just give us their 2 cents on the illustrations that have been presented to us. The rules there are they have to recuse themselves, of course, if they're involved in that project in any way. But they're just advisors to us, and we can ignore their advice or, you know, capitalize on that advice and ask the petitioner for those changes. So that shouldn't be any additional workload for us.
I am happy to bring back a really scaled back version of this that basically stops at, you know, section 2, number 2. Basically, we will have committees. President will decide what committees we have, and then the permission of the commission will establish the membership to try it out. And then these are our rules. We can amend them at any time we want. And so we don't need to get into the details actually here in the rules for the committees to give them a trial run.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
And to be honest, I mean, I don't
that.
want to be making those decisions in a vacuum. I think it is a full plan commission decision. I want your support on who's on those committees. So I'm not gonna, even though it's technically the president's purview, I don't think
That's
it's
right. I was
necessary.
to say, are we going to vote on these committees? But no, it's the presidential's authority, or president's authority to
It
nominate
is,
or
but
to put, appoint.
I want it to work out.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be,
No, I agree. Yeah.
I want us all to be on board.
Yeah. I think this is going to help streamline the process, help staff out some, help us out some. I think this is a good idea.
Most ideally, again, just riffing a little bit, is that we would have 2 primaries from the plan commission and a backup. So if somebody's on vacation, can't be there, we invite the backup person. So, and the same thing with the ordinance amendment committee. It's just, I would hope that the town council would also offer that up, as we have the 2 primaries and then a backup person if the one's not able to make it. So just trying to get attendance there.
Not to volunteer myself, but I will say it might behoove us to say on the ordinance amendment committee, the representative from the planning commission to the BZA be on that committee, because it does directly affect a lot of what the BZA does.
Yeah.
their end.
I
You
think,
must be volunteering.
No, I'm not. I'm not volunteering. It's going to take us 6 months to get through this.
I hope that's the easier of the two committees, just more, again, providing advice to staff and reading drafts offline. I don't think you have to meet a whole lot on that one. All right, motion to adjourn?
One more thing I want to bring up. Last month, we dodged having a quorum of the BZA in this meeting. The president of the BZA was a petitioner in front of us. Is there a way we can get that language that?
He's added it. It's on this
It is on
meeting.
there. Okay, I didn't
It's on
see it.
this
I'm
meeting.
sorry. I didn't even look, but I want to make
I
sure.
should have mentioned that to you. I'm sorry.
Okay, disregarded. Thank you.
I think we've now changed that for town council, is that their notices now say that BZA or plan commission may be in attendance at level of quorum.
We don't have any ability to modify the town council agenda.
Oh, okay. Well, that may be something that Craig wants to bring up to them, just
Yeah.
in case we want to show up at a town council meeting.
So you want us, you were asking me to ask the president to add that?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, so let's say that just as citizens, we want to show up and, speak about an issue that's before the town council.
There might be 4 of us.
There could be 4 of us there.
Or three on the
You
BZA.
guys love going to these meetings.
Yeah.
You got
Well,
these meetings and these.
If 3 of us showed up at the town council meeting this morning.
It just prevents
Yeah, no, I understand.
somebody from having to recuse themselves or whatnot. And I just think that BZA, Plan Commission, and council should be probably making those notices that way, if possible. Good point, though.
I guess if I'm there, and then just a couple other people show up.
Right.
So
Do you think that next month we'll be able to appoint committee membership?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, so if we're gonna do a trial, do we want to just do the ordinance committee, just put one together, so we're not trying to group, find 10?
I will certainly take volunteers if somebody wants to, and I'll pressure folks if we don't
I will
have.
say, I move we amend the rules as written to stop at section 2, item 2, eliminate everything ahead of it, and pass it tonight.
I'm okay with that. Craig, you okay with that? I know that I overstepped the last time and rushed that through. I want to make sure that we're all good.
We
Stop
would
at
be-
item 2, I'm sorry.
Section 2, item 2. So we're no longer defining what makes a committee. We're no longer worried about how long things might be. We're not establishing standing committees, of which a standing committee is a guideline in membership. I mean, there's some confusing language, just it carries on, but.
What's the approval of the commission mean? I just don't want to know what that is. Is that a majority vote? It says members of the committee may be appointed by the president with the approval of the commission. What's the approval of the commission?
Committee shall not consist of enough commission members to constitute a voting majority of the
Yeah.
commission.
Same way we've always done it with committees. is-
That's generally just a consensus. The president would say, I'm going to appoint these 3 people, and then y'all would nod your heads or go, not that guy.
Typically, approval means a vote, so you might change that to consensus of the
Okay.
commission.
If we can make that change, we can pass this tonight.
I accept the
Amendment.
motion is amended.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Again, I don't want to rush this. Just want to make sure everyone's okay with it.
Hey, Jody? Fair enough?
Hearing none.
Yes, 2 thumbs up.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Then we'll present a copy for signature next month.
And honestly, if we need to tweak, in this 12-month window, let's
We
tweak, we'll
just
tweak.
demonstrate how quickly
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah.
We can tweak, but if these rules are now accepted, do you want to?
Yeah,
Do you want to throw something out there?
if we can have 2 primaries and 1 alternate for each committee, if anyone wants to
Well, we need
volunteer
to-
themselves.
We need to establish the committee now, because we just threw
Yeah,
out
we just-
the,
yeah.
yeah,
Thank
we
you.
just threw out the ones that were listed in the rest of the amendment, so
Yeah.
you need to tell us what committee you're forming.
Ordinance amendment.
Ordinance amendment. Since I opened my mouth and said the BZA probably needs to be on there, I'll volunteer myself for that.
So I think, just in my head, it's meeting with staff one meeting and, go through a list of 5 or 6 ordinances that we need to work on and prioritize them. Staff will start working on the prioritized list. When they get one ready, you can review them offline, don't even have to physically get together, and get it ready for us to see as a full plan commission. That's the job. And then second is the land use committee, which is looking at PUDs and rezoning requests. If the developers are willing, we'll see it before they apply, and if they're not willing, we would see them right after they apply. And I think Roger had some suggestions on how that fits with the TAC review or.
The hope was to do that pre-TAC, and TAC usually happens about 2 weeks after the filing.
So we would get a notice that filings have been made, and then we'll have to call a meeting fairly quickly thereafter. And again, 2 members would be the primaries and 1 would be a backup if somebody can't make it.
So what happens?
These are probably daytime meetings,
Yeah.
so that maybe kicks some people out.
What happens when we get these late additions? So you guys have spent 2 hours going over this PUD, probably before they're ready, because it seems like every PUD that's come before us has barely been ready to be heard in the first place. So now you've theoretically lost, 2 hours of your time and half of what you talked about. So that's part A. Part B is, would one of the main things that committee does is kind of try to develop a boilerplate kind of PUD that we had kind of discussed before that may help with that?
I'm going to actually present that to the Plan Commission at our next meeting and see if we can get some consensus at the next Plan Commission meeting. Is a boilerplate format for all PUDs. And if everybody's okay with that, we'll just make that the standard, that all of them in the future have to come in following that format.
Is that something that you want to present to that subcommittee first?
We can, yeah.
Okay. I think if we're going to have a committee, it may be worth putting it through the committee, because that'll help, I think, committee learn more about each other, but also kind of the operational procedure of it, so.
Yeah, my hope with the rezoning is to maybe put together a list of and just going back to minutes and having staff or myself go through and look at, these are the 20 things that normally come up. Paths, landscaping, dumpster enclosures, right?
Check to make sure no one's online.
And, yes. And so, again, they have a list that they're going to be, questioning based off of.
I think this body has a lot of things that we're always asking for, we're always pushing for. I think our illustrious chair, president, whatever Mr. Johnson's title is, there's a really good framework on PUDs. In my time here, there's very little we find disagreement about. It really, because we're all pushing quality, it comes down to where is density appropriate. And that's something I don't think the subcommittee would ever even want to try to decide, right? Other than a generic, I don't know that they're going to let you put a 50-foot, apartment building there, but, so density questions, I think in particular, are tough to give a framework on. But when you're talking about quality, what species of trees to put in, I think that can get defined pretty well for the subcommittee to work through.
Yeah, I agree.
With regard to the ordinance amendment committee, all we have is Josh.
Yeah. Josh.
There you go. You're up.
We need another one.
Yep. Anyone else?
Bueller?
I'll do either.
I would rather be on that, I think, just because ordinance writing is something I do a lot of, and then I don't need to get involved in the other rezonings and PUD stuff after we have a framework figured out.
Right, because I don't write ordinance amendments. I'm going to be there to do what I do.
So you guys switching then? Are you?
I would do ordinance.
Both going to be on there.
Okay.
And then is there an alternate? So,
I'll be the alternate.
okay, cool.
Is that a consensus?
Yeah.
Good with that? Okay, we got one.
All right, land use and PUDs. Give that a shot.
Yep. Well, we have land use. The ordinance amendment, we have 3 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the one thing with Craig is that if we have 2 town council members invited as well, then we would have too many, so we'll figure that out. But, yeah, I think that's good. I'd like you to be there.
I'll serve as the alternate on the PUD, or on land use.
Okay?
I have no problem doing that, but
I'll volunteer for land use.
So we got a backup and a primary. You want to try?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Nikki?
I wasn't sure if we already had too many.
No,
I was
that's good.
losing track of
That's
who was
perfect.
signing up for what, but yes, I'm happy to
All
do
right, the
either one.
primaries for land use, rezonings and PUDs is Nikki and Nick, and then Josh is the alternate, and then for the ordinance amendments, it's Josh, myself, and Craig is the alternate. Perfect. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Let's get on out of here.